Okay. 1 second, everybody. Okay. Let's do this a different way. That's what I wanted. Just to make sure. That's cool. Raid prep Cata. I gotta remember that that's what comes up. That'll be fun. Yeah. That's extremely loud. Thank you. That means that I want the dialogue to be just as low. Alright, so basically I'm just gonna go park this character right up here, and I'm gonna start watching videos for let's see, so I don't screw anything up. More chalk. It's for Dragon Soul, so we're gonna watch Warlord of Zonaz, Zonaz. Yeah, we're just gonna take some ganders at the next expansion's raids, so we're not completely blind coming in. That's what we'll do. We're just gonna watch some videos of some of the raids that are coming up. But I want to do it sitting out here. Yep, that'll work. Make sure my add-on is correct. Okay. And we're gonna get off of this. I gotta figure out why. It's because it's full screen, right? Oh yeah. But for whatever reason, if I click here, it gets rid of the sound. That's an audio thing, right? Oh yeah. That helped. Okay, that fixed it. So basically, we'll literally see if we can't. Sure, it won't be an issue. I wish I could go ahead and hop on the PTR and start prepping that way, but I don't think there's a way. And I might get in trouble for showing some of these clips. How else am I supposed to prep? So and then we'll just do, I'll grab a window catcher. I don't know.
Hi everyone, this is Laylee, narrating from
I guess if I just watch it without any, well, it's kind of lame.
the Dragon Soul Raid. You can see him in the distance, pounding at the base of Wormrest Temple. Our job is to stop him before he topples the tower over. In 10-man, your raid will need 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, and the rest DPS.
Oof,
We
that's
will be
grainy.
using 2 healers because the amount of healing required for this fight is not
Is there another video to this? Come on.
If your raid is less geared than this, you will likely wish to consider adding a third. A mix of ranged
More
and
chalk.
melee DPS will work fine for this encounter.
Who is this?
This is a 2-phase encounter where the fight will alternate between both phases, starting back with phase 1.
Let's go
For the first phase, the raid will be
to the
stacked
very,
with
very
designated
first one.
teams who will soak resin anti-crystals, and tanks will have to taunt swap.
Oh yeah, we just did a bunch of that bullshit too.
This is Laylee, and I'm narrating from the...
Really? Okay, so apparently that was the video. Okay. I'll literally just have to watch the penguin.
Patch 4.3 PTR, and this is the Anominatus guide to the Morchok encounter in the Dragon Soul Raid. Morchok is the first boss in the Dragon Soul Raid. You can see him in the distance, pounding at the base of Wormrest Temple. Our job is to stop him before he topples the tower over. In 10-man, your raid will need 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, and the rest DPS. We will be using 2 healers because the amount of healing required for this fight is not strenuous for raiders who have completed the previous tier. If your raid is less geared than this, you will likely wish to consider adding a third. A mix of ranged and melee DPS will work fine for this encounter. This is a 2-phase encounter where the fight will alternate between both phases, starting back with phase 1.
There we go.
For the first phase, the raid will be stacked except for a designated team who will soak resin anti-crystals, and tanks will have to taunt swap. For the second phase, the raid will need to use pillars called Shards of Earth's Vengeance to line of sight a boss ability called Black Blood of the Earth. Phase 1. In phase 1, the tanks will have to deal with Crush Armor, which inflicts 120% normal melee damage.
I don't
and
know.
reduces his target's armor by 10%.
That made it worse. Good grief. Whatever.
Who have completed the previous tier. If your raid is less geared than this, you will likely wish
This version of this fight is fucking
whenever their debuff falls off. Morchuk also uses
dog.
Stomp, an ability that does 750,000 damage, which is divided between.
Probably old. Can't watch it, it's monotone.
Hi everyone, this is Laylee again, and I'm narrating from the patch 4.3 PTR, and this is the Anominatus Guide to the Yorsaj the Unsleeping encounter in the Dragon's Soul raid. Today I'm going to outline our strategy for the 10-man Yorsaj the Unsleeping encounter as it is currently on the PTR. This fight is by no means complete, and new or all of the encounter strategies or abilities may be changed before the fight.
Funny.
This video
Okay.
is captured in a pug, but it shows all of the abilities used and follows the strategy very closely.
Is this the same person? It is. It's gotta be.
This fight is in no way finished and could change before it.
Wow. Okay. Jesus. Moving on. Is this all the same? Is this?
Hi everyone, this is Laylee again with another Anominatus 10-man video guide from the Dragon Soul raid on the patch 4.3 PTR. This video will outline the strategy to defeating Warlord Zonaz. This fight was recorded in a pug, but the abilities and strategies outlined are reflected in this video. This fight is in no way finished and could change before it reaches the live realms. Warlord Zonaz is the third boss encounter in the Dragon Soul raid. He is located in the Maw of Gorath, which can be reached by flying on a green drake from the bottom of Wormrest Temple. You will parachute in commando style and land in a safe area inside. There will be 3 packs of tentacle trash that you must deal with, and once the trash is dead, you will engage Warlord Zonaz. In this fight, your raid will need 1 tank, 3 healers, and 6 DPS. The healing requirements in the second phase of this encounter require 3 healers to deal with the heavy incoming damage. Your raid should try to find a balance of melee and ranged DPS to deal with the mechanics of this encounter. Because of the necessity of having a ranged group, it is not advised to bring more than 3 melee. This is an encounter with 2 phases that alternate until the boss is dead. The first phase is a coordination phase where your raid will be bouncing a ball of energy back and forth between a melee group and a ranged group. This positioning will be explained in greater detail later in this guide. During the second phase, the boss takes increased damage and deals a massive amount of raid damage that must be healed. Healers and tanks should use their healing and damage reduction cooldowns. DPS cooldowns should also be safe for this phase. I will go over the abilities for this fight and will then outline a strategy to handle those abilities. Phase 1. Warlord Zonaz will put a buff called Focused Anger on himself, which increases his physical damage done by 10% and his attack speed by 10%. This effect will stack every 5 seconds until it is diffused. I will explain how to defuse Zonaz later in this guide. Zonaz will also cast an ability called Psychic Drain approximately once every 30 seconds. This ability will cast a wave of psychic force in a 30-yard cone in front of him, which deals 120,000 shadow damage and leeches life equal to 10 times the amount of damage that he deals. This means he gains approximately 1.2 million health each time he does this ability, provided that it only hits the tank. An ability called Disrupting Shadows will also be cast on 1 to 3 random raid members every 30 seconds. This magic effect will inflict about 36,000 shadow damage every 2 seconds to the player. When dispelled, it deals about 60,000 shadow damage and knocks the player back about 10 yards. So it is best to dispel it as soon as possible, provided it will not kill that particular raid member. At the beginning of phase 1, Zonaz will also cast Void of the Unmaking. He spawns an orb of purple energy in front of him and sends it straight ahead towards the wall of the room. The key to this phase is properly using this ball to prevent Zonaz from killing the tank. When the also ricochet away from the player it hit and head back in the opposite direction. Each of these collisions will increase the damage the void deals by 20% on the next diffusion. If the void is allowed to hit the wall of the room, the Maw of Gorath will use Black Blood Eruption, which deals 60,000 shadow damage to all raiders and knocks them into the air. This cannot be allowed to happen. Xanos will become diffused when the void collides with him. This diffusion will cause Xanos to take 5% extra damage for every time the void is bounced between players. This diffusion will also cause his stacks of focused anger to drain. However, diffusing Xanos will also transition into Phase 2, where Xanos awakens the Maw of Gorath. Phase 2. In this phase, the room becomes very dark, and many tentacles, including Eyes of Gorath, spawn around the whole area. Xanos will use Black Blood of Gorath, which inflicts about 14,000 shadow damage to all players every second for 30 seconds. At the same time, the Eyes of Gorath will use Shadow Gaze, which will inflict 28,000 shadow damage to about 2 raid members every 3 seconds.
Jesus.
After 30
Okay.
seconds, Xanos will transition back, and Phase 1 will begin again. Now that we have the abilities for this fight, I will outline the strategy to defeating this encounter. Here's our encounter strategy. Your raid should be divided into 2 groups, one range group and one melee group. Your range group should consist of 1 to 2 healers, and the rest range DPS. The range group should have 5 members, and the melee group should have 4 members. If you are very low on range DPS, you may opt to have only 4 members in your range group. On the pole, your melee group and tank should face Xanos, while your range group is positioned at a 90-degree angle from the boss. Your raid may choose whichever side you would like for this, but this video shows our range group positioned to the left of the boss. Your tank should run through the boss and turn him around so the boss is facing away from both the melee and range groups. The encounter begins in Phase 1, and the first void of the Unmaking will spawn shortly after the pole. As soon as Xanos spawns the void, have your tank rotate the boss 90 degrees clockwise if your range group starts on the left. Otherwise, if your
Oh
range group
no,
starts-
Dammy. Let me make sure all my labels are correct, guys. Let me throw this up in Discord here. There we go. And maybe we stream. And figure out which window it's actually capturing. Yeah, toss it. Change. There we go. Uh-oh. Baby's upset. Where is...
Right. Have your tank turn the boss except the tank from being hit by Psychic Drain. After the Void of the Unmaking spawns, it
Well,
will
I
head
guess I
directly
could
away
just
from
make it
Zonos.
show.
Your range group should chase after the Void and make sure to collide with it. This may require the use of movement abilities to intercept the first bounce. The Void will then ricochet, and if your range group was positioned properly, head back towards your melee group. Your melee group must then intercept the orb and aim the Void back to the range group. For a moderately geared group, your group will want to defuse the Void 5 times in order to maximize your damaging ability in Phase 2. If your group is more geared, you may wish to ricochet the orb 7 times if your tank can survive the increased damage from the extra stacks of Focused Anger. Healers need to be aware of the damage being done by the diffusion. It is also important to time dispels appropriately in order to make sure a diffusion and a dispel do not occur simultaneously and kill a raid member. One healer should be tank healing and the other 2 healers should be dispelling and healing their respective groups. Once your group has bounced the Void enough times, your melee group should make sure to get completely
Let's listen to that part one more time.
have your
'Cause
tank
we're healers. We need to listen to that part probably 100 fucking
boss.
times.
Your raid may choose whichever side you would like for this, but this video shows our range group position to the left of the boss. Your tank should run through the boss and turn him around so the boss is facing away from both the melee and range groups. The encounter begins in Phase 1, and the first Void of the Unmaking will spawn shortly after the pull. As soon as Zonos spawns the Void, have your tank rotate the boss 90 degrees clockwise if your range group starts on the left. Otherwise, if your range group starts on the right, have your tank turn the boss 90 degrees counterclockwise. Your melee group should then reposition themselves behind the boss, and your range group will have to chase after the orb. This positioning will prevent everyone except the tank from being hit by Psychic Drain. After the Void of the Unmaking spawns, it will head directly away from the
Okay.
Your range group should chase
One more
after
time,
the Void
please.
and make sure to collide with it. Now that we have the abilities for this fight, I will outline the strategy to defeating this encounter. Here's our encounter strategy.
Sorry, guys.
Your raid should be divided into 2 groups, one range group and one melee group. Your range group should consist of 1 to 2 healers and the rest range DPS. The range group should have 5 members and the melee group should have 4 members. If you are very low on range DPS, you may opt to have only 4 members in your range group. On the pull, your melee group and tank should face Zonos while your range group is positioned at a 90-degree angle from the boss. Your raid may choose whichever side you would like for this, but this video shows our range group position to the left of the boss. The tank should run through the boss and turn him around so the boss is facing away from both the melee and range groups. The encounter begins in Phase 1, and the first Void of the Unmaking will spawn shortly after the pull. As soon as Zonos spawns the Void, have your tank rotate the boss 90 degrees clockwise if your range group starts on the left. Otherwise, if your range group starts on the right, have your tank turn the boss 90 degrees counterclockwise. Your melee group should then reposition themselves behind the boss, and your range group will have to chase after the orb. This positioning will prevent everyone except the tank from being hit by Psychic Drain. After the Void of the Unmaking spawns, it will head directly away from Zonos. Your range group should chase after the Void and make sure to collide with it. This may require the use of movement abilities to intercept the first bounce. The Void will then ricochet, and if your range group was positioned properly, head back towards your melee group.
This is gonna be
Melee
fun.
group must then intercept the orb and aim
I
the
can't
Void
get on
back to the
WoW.
range
It won't load up.
For a moderately geared
What do you
group,
mean?
your group will want to
Every time I
defuse the
try,
Void 5
it
times in
does
order
a
to
spinning
maximize
like it's
the
gonna
damage
bring
you
up
can in Phase 2.
the worlds and everything, and then it brings up the thing saying,
Okay, well, hang on. Let me pause what I'm doing.
"Oh, I didn't know you were."
Yeah. It's
So
okay.
I was just
Let me get it. Anywho.
The tank can survive the increased damage from the extra stacks of focused anger. Healers need to be aware of the damage being done by the diffusion. It is also important to time dispels appropriately in order to make sure a diffusion and a dispel do not occur simultaneously and kill a raid member. One healer should be tank healing and the other two healers should be dispelling and healing their respective groups. Once your group has bounced the void enough times, your melee group should make sure to get completely clear of the void. And your tank will want to position the boss so that the void will directly connect the Zonos rather than hitting the tank or another raider. Your range group should follow the void in toward the center and stack up with the melee group. In phase 2, your raid will stack up directly behind Zonos. Healers and tanks should arrange raid cooldowns for the 30 seconds of the phase, as your raid will endure massive AoE damage. But do not forget that the tank and shadow gaze targets will need extra healing as well. After 30 seconds,
Right.
the fight will return to phase 1. It is important to note that at the beginning of phase 1, Zonos will not spawn a Void of the Unmaking for about 15 to 20 seconds. Just DPS the boss, dispel, and wait until he spawns the Void. Use heroism at or below 40% during phase 2 in order to maximize its effectiveness. Zonos is all about coordination and large throughput on both the parts of your healers and DPS. Once you have mastered the art of Void bouncing, your raid will quickly defeat Zonos.
I want to watch a void
Fight
bounce
in
again.
its entirety, so you
I want to watch him bounce a void again. Hey, that was pretty dope.
could change before it reaches the live realms.
Where was that again?
Warlord Zonas. This positioning will be explained in greater detail later in this guide.
Yeah.
During the second phase, the boss takes increased damage and deals a massive amount of raid damage that must be healed through. Healers and tanks should use their healing and damage reduction cooldowns. DPS cooldowns should also be saved for this phase. I will go over the abilities for this fight and will then outline a strategy to handle those abilities. Phase 1. Warlord Zonas will put a buff called Focused Anger on himself, which increases his physical damage done by 10% and his attack speed by 10%. This effect will stack every 5 seconds until he is diffused. I will explain how to diffuse Zonas later in this guide. Zonas will also cast an ability called Psychic Drain approximately once every 30 seconds. This ability will cast a wave of psychic force in a 30-yard cone in front of him, which deals 120,000 shadow damage and leeches life equal to 10 times the amount of damage that he deals. This means he gains approximately 1.2 million health each time he does this ability, provided that it only hits the tank. An ability called Disrupting Shadows will also be cast on 1 to 3 random raid members every 30 seconds.
This thing right here, right?
This magic effect will inflict about 36,000 shadow damage every 2 seconds on the player.
You know,
When dispelled, it deals about 60,000 shadow damage and knocks the player back about 10 yards. So it is best to dispel it as soon as possible, provided it will not kill that particular raid member. At the beginning of phase 1, Zonas will also cast Void of the Unmaking. He spawns an orb of purple energy in front of him and sends it straight ahead towards the wall of the room. The key to this phase is properly using this ball to prevent Zonas from killing your tank. When the Void of the Unmaking collides with the player, it will use Void Diffusion, which explodes, dealing 180,000 shadow damage, which is split between all raid members near the Void at the time. The Void will also ricochet away from the player it hit and head back in the opposite direction. Each of these collisions will increase the damage the Void deals by 20% on the next diffusion. If the Void is allowed to hit the wall of the room, the Maw of Gorath will use Black Blood Eruption, which deals 60,000 shadow damage to all raiders and knocks them into the air. This cannot be allowed to happen. Zonas will become diffused when the Void collides with him. This diffusion will cause Zonas to take 5% extra damage for every time the Void has bounced between players. This diffusion will also cause his stacks of Focused Anger to drop. However, diffusing Zonas will also transition into phase 2, where Zonas
this mechanic heavy as hell.
Phase 2. In this phase, the room becomes very dark and many tentacles, including Eyes of Gorath, will spawn around the whole area. Zonas will use Black Blood of Gorath, which inflicts about 14,000 shadow damage to all players every second for 30 seconds. At the same time, the Eyes of Gorath will use Shadow Gaze, which will inflict 28,000 shadow damage to about 2 raid members every 3 seconds. After 30 seconds, Zonas will transition back and phase 1 will begin again. Now that we have the abilities for this fight, I will outline the strategy to defeating this encounter. Here's our encounter strategy. Your raid should be divided into 2 groups. boss and turn him around so the boss is facing away from both the melee and range groups. The encounter begins in phase 1, and the first void of the Unmaking will spawn shortly after the pull. As soon as Zonos spawns the void, have your tank rotate the boss 90 degrees clockwise if your range group starts on the left. Otherwise, if your range group starts on the right, have your tank turn the boss 90 degrees counterclockwise. Your melee group should then reposition themselves behind the boss, and your range group will have to chase after the orb. This positioning will prevent everyone except the tank from being hit by Psychic Drain. After the Void of the Unmaking spawns, it will head directly away from Zonos. Your range group should chase after the Void and make sure to collide with it. This may require the use of movement abilities to intercept the first bounce. The Void will then ricochet, and if your range group was positioned properly, head back towards your melee group. Your melee group must then intercept the orb and aim the Void back to the range group.
They're talking about
For a
this
modern
right
weaker
here.
group, your group will want to defuse the Void 5 times in order to maximize your damaging ability in phase 2. If your group is more geared, you may wish to ricochet the orb 7 times if your tank can survive the increased damage from the extra stacks of focused anger. Healers need to be aware of the damage being done by the diffusion.
5
It is also
times.
important to time dispels appropriately in order to make sure a diffusion and a dispel do not occur simultaneously and kill a raid member. One healer should be tank healing and the other 2 healers should be dispelling and healing their respective groups. Once your group has bounced the void enough times, your melee group should make sure to get completely clear of the void, and your tank will want to position the boss so that the void will directly connect with Zonos rather than hitting the tank or another raider. Your range group should follow the void in toward the center and stack up with the melee group. In phase 2, your raid will stack up directly behind Zonos. Healers and tanks should arrange raid cooldowns for the 30 seconds of the phase, as your raid will endure massive AoE damage. But do not forget that the tank and Shadow Gaze targets will need extra healing as well. After 30 seconds, the fight will return to phase 1. It is important to note that at the beginning of phase 1, Zonos will not spawn a Void of the Unmaking for about 15 to 20 seconds. Just DPS the boss, dispel, and wait until he spawns the Void. Use heroism at or below 40% during phase 2 in order to maximize
Heroism. Sir, we use bloodlust.
Zonos is all about coordination and large throughput on both the parts of your healers and DPS. Once you have mastered the art of void bouncing, your raid will quickly defeat Zonos.
So it's all
Show the fight
determined
in
on the
its
void
entirety
bounce.
So you can see the phases and abilities in action. Put on your Sunday dresses and have fun.
Who's doing the void bounce? Oh, the video's quiet? Oh, okay, okay. Or hey, you're my first guy in here. Yeah. Is it better? Oh, they did. They did earlier.
Which
They
can
did
reach
earlier.
the strategy to defeating Warlord Zonos.
This is
This fight
literally.
was recorded
I
with
was watching the
the
first
abilities
one,
and
but
strategies outlined are reflected in this video.
am I still low?
This fight is in no way finished and could change before it reaches the live realms. Warlord Zanaz is the third boss encounter in the Dragon Soul raid. He is located in the Maw of Gorath, which can be reached by flying on a green drake from the bottom of Orcus Temple. You will
I don't
parachute in
know why.
commando style and land in a safe area inside. There will be 3 packs of tentacle trash that you must deal with, and once the trash is dead, you will engage Warlord Zanaz. In this fight, your raid will need 1 tank, 3 healers, and 6 DPS. The healing requirements in the second phase of this encounter require 3 healers to deal with the heavy incoming damage. Your raid should try to find a balance of melee and ranged DPS to deal with the mechanics of this encounter. Because of the necessity of having a
How about
ranged
now?
group, it is not advised to bring more than 3 melee. This is an encounter with 2 phases that alternate until the boss is dead. The first phase is a coordination phase where your raid will be bouncing a ball of energy back and forth between a melee group and a ranged group. This positioning will be explained in greater detail later in this guide. During the second phase, the boss takes increased damage and deals a massive amount of raid damage that must be healed through. Healers and tanks should use their healing and damage reduction cooldowns.
How about now?
DPS cooldown should also be saved for this phase. I will go over the abilities for this fight and will then outline a strategy to handle those abilities. Phase 1. Warlord Zanaz will put a buff called Focus Anger on himself, which increases his physical damage done by 10% and his attack speed by 10%. This effect will stack every 5 seconds until he is diffused. I will explain how to diffuse Zanaz later in this guide. Zanaz will also cast an ability called Psychic Drain approximately once every 30 seconds. This ability will cast a wave of psychic force in a 30-yard cone in front of him, which deals 120,000 shadow damage and leeches life equal to 10 times the amount of damage that he deals. This means he gains approximately 1.2 million health each time he does this ability, provided that it only hits the tank. An ability called Disrupting Shadows will also be cast on 1 to 3 random raid members every 30 seconds. This magic effect will inflict about 36,000 shadow damage every 2 seconds to the player. When dispelled, it deals about 60,000 shadow damage and knocks the player back about 10 yards. So it is best to dispel it as soon as possible, provided it will not kill that particular raid member. At the beginning of Phase 1, Zanaz will also cast Void of the Unmaking. He spawns an orb of purple energy in front of him and sends it straight ahead towards the wall of the room. The key to this phase is properly using this ball to prevent Zanaz from
melee
killing
and
your tank.
range to avoid it hitting the tank.
When the Void of the Unmaking collides with
what
the
I
player,
understand.
it will use Void Diffusion, which explodes, dealing
little
180,000
purple
shadow
ball right
damage,
here?
which is split between all raid members near the Void at the time. The Void will also ricochet away from the player it hit and head back in the opposite direction.
Maybe
Each of these collisions
maybe
will
if I
increase the damage the
move
Void deals
this
by
a little
20%
bit
on the next
center,
diffusion.
huh? So he's basically
If the Void is
just-
allowed to hit the wall of the room, the Maw of
They're talking
Gorath
about
will
this
use
thing
Black
right here.
Blood Eruption, which deals 60,000 shadow damage to all raiders and knocks them into the air. This cannot be allowed to happen.
So he's talking about this ball right here.
Zanaz
hitting
will
the
become
wall.
diffused when the Void collides with him. This diffusion will cause Zanaz to take 5% extra damage for every time the Void has bounced between players.
Bingo.
This diffusion will also cause his stacks of focused anger
So
to drop.
it's literally
However,
depending on
diffusing Zanaz will also transition
being
into
able to
Phase
ping
2,
pong this
where
fucking ball
Zanaz
back
awakens the
and
Maw of
forth and setting it
Gorath.
up.
Phase 2. In this phase, the room becomes very dark, and many tentacles, including Eyes of Gorath, will spawn around the whole area. Zanaz will use Black Blood of Gorath, which inflicts about
It's pretty
14,000 shadow damage to all players every second for
It's
30
pretty
seconds.
cool mechanic. It reminds me of like
At the same time, the Eyes of
Zelda,
Gorath will use Shadow Gaze, which will
you know,
inflict 28,000 shadow damage
Ocarina
to
of
about 2
Time,
raid members every
where
3
you're hitting
seconds.
the ball of light back from Ganondorf.
After 30 seconds, Zanaz will transition back, and Phase 1 will
Pretty
begin
dope.
again. Now that we have the abilities for this fight, I will outline the strategy to defeating this encounter. Here's our encounter strategy. Your raid should be divided into 2 groups, one
He'll
range
break it
group
down.
and one melee group. Your range group should consist of 1 to 2 healers, and the rest range DPS. The range group should have 5 members, and the melee group should have 4 members. If you are very low on range DPS, you may opt to have only 4 members in your range group. On the pole, your melee group and tanks should face Zanaz, while your range group is positioned at a 90-degree angle from the boss. Your raid may choose whichever side you would like for this, but this video shows our range group position to the left of the boss. Your tank should run through the boss and turn him around so the boss is facing away from both the melee and range groups. The encounter begins in phase 1, and
Tammy's gonna have a problem, guys.
Shortly after the
Here we
void.
go.
As soon as Zonoz spawns the void, have your tank rotate the boss 90 degrees clockwise if your range group starts on the left. Otherwise, if your range group starts on the right, have
Jamie,
your tank turn the boss 90
we're gonna
degrees
have to come up with some
counterclockwise.
code words, my
Your
friend.
melee group should then reposition themselves behind the boss, and your range group will have to chase after the orb. This positioning will prevent everyone except the tank from being hit by Psychic Drain. After the Void of the Unmaking spawns, it will head directly away from Zonoz. Your range group should chase after the Void and make sure to collide with it. This may require the use of movement abilities to intercept the first bounce. The Void will then ricochet, and if your range group was positioned properly, head back towards your melee group. Your melee group must then intercept the orb
That's a dope
and aim
ass
the Void
mechanic,
back to
dude.
the range group.
I'm not gonna lie.
For a moderately geared group,
I
your group
think
will
that's
want to
pretty cool.
defuse the Void 5 times in order to maximize your damaging ability in phase 2. If
An
your group is more
annoying-ass
geared,
mechanic.
you may wish to ricochet the orb 7 times if your tank can survive the increased damage from the extra stacks of Focused Anger.
So we'll probably
Healers
end up
need to be
hitting
aware of the
5.
damage
I
being
don't
done by
know.
the diffusion.
It'll be
It
fun
is
to
also
try
important to time
try
the
to-
spells appropriately
try to
in order
progress,
to make
dude.
sure a diffusion and a
See?
dispel do not occur simultaneously.
That's
and kill
gonna
a
be
raid
rough.
member.
So
One
it's
healer
gonna
should
be
be tank
one
healing, and the other 2 healers should be
one
dispelling
healer,
and healing
tank
their
healing.
respective groups. Once your group has bounced the Void enough times, your melee group should make
So
sure
we're
to
gonna
get
have to have
completely
one
clear of the
tank
Void,
heals,
and your
one
tank will want to position the
AoE
boss so
healer.
that the Void will directly connect with Zonoz rather than hitting the tank or another raider. Your range group should follow the Void in toward the center and stack up with the melee group. In phase 2, your raid will stack up directly behind Zonoz. Healers and tanks should arrange raid cooldowns for the 30 seconds of the phase, as your raid will endure massive AoE damage. But do not forget that the tank and Shadow Gaze targets
I'm gonna
will
watch
need
it.
extra
I'm gonna
healing as
I'm
well.
gonna watch them all.
After 30 seconds, the fight will return to phase
I
1.
know nothing about this, so the more I see it now, the less we have to work on
It is
it.
important
me
to note
watching,
that at the
you
beginning
know?
of phase 1, Zonoz will not spawn a Void of the Unmaking for about 15 to 20 seconds. Just DPS the boss, dispel, and wait until he spawns the Void. Use Heroism at or below 40% during phase 2 in
Heroism.
order to maximize its effectiveness. Zonoz is all about coordination and large throughput on both the parts of your healers and DPS. Once you have mastered the art of Void bouncing, your raid will quickly defeat Zonoz.
Ward bouncing.
I will show the fight in its entirety so you can see the phases
There
and
we go.
abilities in action.
Now we're just gonna watch
Put
it
on your
without
Sunday
him
dresses
explaining
and
it.
have fun.
And we'll just kind of break it down on our own. Whatever. That's basically, I mean, the fight is literally dependent on this mechanic right here. It does what do you say, a 20% increase to damage every time it smokes him? That's cool. Phase 2. Stack up. Please, everybody. Please stack. Stack, please. Yay. We love healing.
This fight is easy on normal. Shit's a bitch on heroic.
And this is the first time I've ever seen this. So, I mean, this is dope to me, bro. I need to fix my push start. This is the first time I've ever seen this, bro. This is cool for me. It's got a dope mechanic. But I know that it's going to be super heavy dependent on whoever can do this fucking fight. This
Yeah.
mechanic right here.
Wait for Hagara.
Yeah, that's what Zinnick said too. I'm probably
God.
gonna pull that one up here in just a moment.
Everyone has to react in a different way every time you do the fight.
Really?
Oh, thinking about that fight just gives me a headache. So typically on Zanas, you want to get to about 7 or 8 bounces, and then phase them.
Well, it said if you're highly geared for 7 bounces, but if the first time we go in there, he said, what did it say, 5 bounces?
That's a little low.
That's what he said. I mean, I know that it's for sure based on what you can handle as a group, for sure.
Right.
Maybe whatever feels comfortable.
Yeah, the healers are gonna know what feels comfortable for them. Maybe LBUI isn't broken on the PTR.
I just hopped on PTR and got my add-ons. I didn't do my action bars or anything.
I think
None
my
of this
add-ons
stuff was...
are already set up. I just need to... Oh, I can log on to the PTR? That's the thing?
Yeah.
Can I already get gear and shit?
No, the vendors and shit aren't up yet.
Maybe I'll do that here. More pedal. Pretty cool.
The difference on this fight on Heroic. So when you phase him for this boss Zanas,
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
so when you phase him, ads are gonna spawn. Well, those ads have to get killed. Like that claw, that big tentacle that's just flailing around, seems to be doing nothing.
Yeah.
All the ads have to get killed.
That's cool.
And
I like that fight.
that big tentacle that's just flailing around like a big dick,
Oh, yeah.
it has to get tanked.
Let me log out, guys.
What fights have you looked at so far?
That was like the second one, but I didn't watch the first one. I was gonna look at Let me look. Let me scroll back up to the raid guides. More chalk, but
Yeah, he's simple.
it was just I couldn't listen to the monotone guy, but I'm gonna look up this Hagara.
Still got your Saj to look at.
Oh yeah, let me do that then too. Let me grab that one as well. Just give me a moment. I'm having to log. I'm gonna log Adrin out and then pull up the PTR and see if I can get in. Start
For
setting
my
some-
add-ons, all I did was just copy my add-ons up in my WoW folder and paste them into the PTR.
So. So it looks like I'm gonna watch your Saj.
Hi everyone, this is Laylee again, and I'm narrating from the patch 4.3 PTR, and this is the Anominatus guide to the Yorsaj the Unsleeping encounter in the Dragon Soul raid. Today I'm going to outline our strategy for the 10-man Yorsaj the Unsleeping encounter as it is currently on the PTR. This fight is by no means complete, and
She
any or all
talking?
of the encounter strategies or abilities may be changed before the fight is ready for the live realms. This video footage was captured in a PUG, but it shows all of the abilities used and follows the
Can you
strategy
not
very
hear?
closely. Yorsaj the Unsleeping is the second boss in the Dragon Soul raid.
Okay, now I do.
He resides within the Maw of Ruin, which is just outside the Wormrest Temple. To reach him, you and your raid must talk to the bronze dragon inside of the temple. After speaking with the dragon, you will then fly to the Maw of Ruin, parachuting commando style, and then land in a safe area inside. Your raid will quickly notice all of the globule trash patrolling around his room. The trash in this room has similar abilities to the adds in the boss encounter. Once the trash is dead, you face Yorsaj. In 10 man, your raid will need 1 tank, 2 to 3 healers, and 6 or 7 DPS. We will be using 2 healers because there is only small amounts of time when any burst healing is required, and most of this damage can be mitigated through the use of raid-wide cooldowns. If your healers are struggling to keep everyone alive and your DPS is solid, your raid may wish to use 3 healers. This is a one-phase encounter with many different transitions based on the globules that are spawned throughout the fight. I will go into greater detail on the different types and combinations of globules that are spawned.
Alright.
Here is our encounter strategy. Yorsaj will use a primary ability called Void Bolt. This ability will hit your tank for 90,000 shadow damage and 5,000 damage every 2 seconds after that. This ability does stack. Periodically, Yorsaj will use Call Blood of Shuma, which summons 3 colored globules. The globules spawn in different directions in the room which correspond to the color of the globule. There are 6 different possible types, in which 3 spawn is chosen at
I gotta
random.
reinstall.
These
Cata.
globules will slowly move toward your
Yeah, I gotta
who should be
reinstall
positioned in the
PTR.
middle of the room.
Whatever.
It is your raid's job to kill these
I
globules
only have enough
before it reaches your
DPS to DPS 1 ad.
Each of the different type of globules grants Yorsaj a different ability when he absorbs them. Only one of the globules may be killed during Call Blood of Shuma, as once the first one dies, the others will become immune. It is also important that if more than one globule is being attacked, if they are below 50%, each of the other globules will be healed for 5% of their maximum health due to an ability called Fusing Vapors.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Here is a list of all 6 colors of globules and the abilities they grant Yorsaj. Number 1 is called the Glowing Globule, and its color is yellow.
So you basically DPS
When
them down one
Yorsaj
at a
absorbs
time?
the yellow
Is that what I'm
globule,
understanding?
it causes
You
him
only
to use
DPS
Void Bolt
one.
on the entire raid,
Yeah, and you had to
causes him to use
prioritize
his
the color
abilities twice as often,
based
and
on the
causes
color
him to attack
combination.
60% faster. The second globule is called the Cobalt Globule,
The
which
most
is a
dangerous
color
one
blue.
is green.
When Yorsaj absorbs the blue globule, it causes him to summon a mana
On
void.
normal, you'll always kill green.
Well-
If there's green, you'll always kill it.
I thought it was purple.
Hang on, I want to watch that again. Well, I know he's gonna go over it one more time, but I need to back it up because I really wasn't paying attention right there at the very beginning. I don't know how important the very beginning was, but I need to go back.
I know blue. You will always need to have blue if it spawns, because that's how healers will get mana back.
Oh my gosh.
I know that. I only remember like one specific combination, and it was like green, black, yellow, and you kill green. Like black, yellow, kill red.
It's making me rename my copy character. What the hell?
Yeah, so I made mine with my rogue's name, and then I immediately made another one so I can make Small PP Striker.
I just named it Adrin Stream.
Different possible types in which 3 spawn is chosen at random. These globules will slowly move toward your Saj, who should be positioned in the middle of the room. It is your raid's job to kill these globules before it reaches your Saj. Each of the different type of globules grants your Saj a different ability when he absorbs them. Only one of the globules may be killed during Call Blood of Shuma, as once the first one dies, the others will become immune. It is also important that if more than one globule is being attacked, if they are below 50%, each of the other globules will be healed for 5% of their maximum health due to an ability called Fusing Vapors. Here is a list of all 6 colors of globules and the abilities they grant Yorsaj. Number 1 is called the Glowing Globule, and its color is yellow. When Yorsaj absorbs the yellow globule, it causes him to use Void Bolt on the entire raid, it causes him to use his abilities twice as often, and causes him to attack 60% faster. The second globule is called the Cobalt Globule, which is the color blue. When Yorsaj absorbs the blue globule, it causes him to summon a Mana Void. The Mana Void will leech all mana from every ranged caster and healer.
Yeah.
However,
well, we don't
when
want
the Mana
that,
Void
do
is
we?
destroyed, every caster within 18 yards of the Mana Void will have their mana returned to them.
Oh, but we
The
don't
third
want that.
globule is called the Crimson Globule, which is colored red. When Yorsaj absorbs the red globule, it causes him to inflict 35,000 fire damage to 3 random raid members. However, this damage increases the further from the boss the raider is. The fourth globule is called the Dark Globule, which is colored black. When Yorsaj absorbs the black globule, it causes him to summon Forgotten Ones. These small adds will randomly target raiders and use Psychic Slice, which deals 35,000 shadow damage to their current target. The fifth globule is called the Acidic Globule, which is colored green. When Yorsaj absorbs the green globule, it causes him to use Digestive Acid on the raid. Digestive Acid deals 60,000 nature damage to a player and their allies within 4 yards. The sixth and final globule is called the Shadow Globule, which is colored purple. When Yorsaj absorbs the purple globule, it causes him to use Deep Corruption on every raider. Deep Corruption causes every 5th healing or absorption effect to trigger an explosion that deals 50,000 damage to all players.
Jeez.
With these abilities in mind, here is a priority system of which add to kill in any situation. First is purple, then yellow, then green, then blue. Now,
Okay,
the reason
you
that
always
red
did
and
kill
black are
purple.
not listed is because they are the lowest priority adds, and they will never be chosen to be killed out of the group of 3, so they are purposefully left out. Here's the basic strategy for each ad. Purple is always killed first, regardless of whatever combination your raid receives.
Yeah, black is
Yellow
easy
will
to deal
force
with,
your
it's
raid to
just
stack
adds.
together and use raid cooldowns if they're up. The Void Bolts as well as the tank damage will be severe and will require massive healing. Green will require your raid to spread out so that everyone is at least 4 yards apart. This will prevent the splash damage from
4
hitting
yards.
anyone.
4 yards ain't
However,
dead.
blue is a special case. If blue is absorbed, it is
Everybody will
important
be
that
at
all
10
DPS
though.
switch to the Mana Void as soon as it spawns. Healers and tanks should use individual or raid cooldowns before their mana is gone to ensure that no one dies while the Mana Void is alive. All DPS should make killing the Mana Void their highest priority, and this is especially important for physical DPS as they will be unaffected by the mana draining ability. Casters and healers should wait until their mana is fully drained and then use whatever mana regeneration abilities are available to them. This will ensure that they will have some mana available in order to kill the Mana Void and heal. When the Mana Void is around 30% health, every caster and healer should
Why the
stack
fuck I
near
get
it
an ad?
so that they are in range to have their mana returned when it is destroyed.
On what?
Red and black are easy
Yeah, I
cases,
forgot
and
to
that all the
snooze
raid
it.
needs to do is stack together behind the boss in order to raid heal and kill the Forgotten Ones.
Every 1 hour there's a 3-minute
Here are some
ad,
possible
bro.
combinations of globular colors that are
3
going to be more
minutes?
challenging for
3
your raid than
minutes?
others that may require
You
special
money-grabbing
strategies.
hoe.
Number 1,
Hey,
yellow or green and blue.
optimization.
If blue occurs with either yellow or
What,
green,
OnlyFans ain't
make
give
sure
you
that your
enough?
raid
It's
uses
either
raid
it's
cooldowns to
either
survive.
one
Tanks should use
it's
personal
either
cooldowns as well,
one
and it is
30-second
especially
video
important that the mana void dies
every
as quickly as
15
possible in this
minutes,
case.
or it's 3-minute
Number
video
two, red and green.
every 1 hour.
This
You
combination
choose,
can be
bud.
tricky.
I'll
Each
give you
raider
one
needs
every
to make sure to
15 minutes
stand
if you
4
like.
yards apart from one another, but must also stand as close to the boss as possible. We found that a semicircle around the back of the boss works well in this situation.
That's literally the options.
Number 3, red or green and yellow. This combination will require a massive amount of raid healing. The main difference between red and yellow and green and yellow is that the raid must stack up for red and yellow and spread for green and yellow. Raid healing is extremely important in both cases. This rotation of different colored globules will repeat throughout the fight until your Saj dies. The fight is very much dependent on your choice of add to kill and handling the remaining abilities your Saj gains. Some raids that are more range caster heavy might prefer to kill blue over green and yellow, while physical damage heavy raids might leave blue for last. It will depend on your group composition, but find whichever combination of events works well for you.
You know,
Heroism is best used at 4.
actually, hold on, bro. Hang on.
Well, there's only 40 seconds left now.
Well, I understand that, but that does bring up a really good point, right? No lie. If I'm sitting here watching a video, I can't have. I'll just have to moderate it just a little bit fucking better. Damn it. Let me go back at least 30 minutes in the video.
Hey, they're over.
Where's my mods? Alright, welcome back. I'll restart from about where we left off.
Versus purple, then yellow, then green, then blue. Now, the reason that red and black are not listed is
I'm gonna put
because
an
they are
alert
the
for
lowest
that or
priority
something.
adds, and they will never be chosen to be killed out of the group of 3, so they are purposefully left out. Here's the basic strategy for each ad. Purple is always killed first, regardless of whatever combination your raid receives. Yellow will force your raid to stack together and use raid cooldowns if they're up. The void bolts as well as the tank damage will be severe and will require massive healing. Green will require your raid to spread out so that everyone is at least 4 yards apart. This will prevent the splash damage from hitting anyone. However, blue is a special case. If blue is absorbed, it is important that all DPS switch to the mana void as soon as it spawns. Healers and tanks should use individual or raid cooldowns before their mana is gone to ensure that no one dies while the mana void is alive. All DPS should make killing the mana void their highest priority, and this is especially important for physical DPS as they will be unaffected by the mana draining ability.
So I can snooze ads
Casters and
for
healers should
15
wait
minutes.
until their mana
That's
is
what I
fully
got.
drained and then use whatever mana regeneration abilities are available to them. This will ensure that they will have some mana
We'll
available
just
in
make
order
sure we're
to
not
kill the
going
mana
through any
void
kind of
and
video
heal.
footage or something whenever we're.
When the mana void is around
Snooze
30%
them.
health, every caster and healer should stack near it so that they are in range to have their mana returned when it is destroyed. Red and black are easy cases in that all the raid needs to do is stack together behind the boss in order to raid heal and kill the forgotten ones. Here are some possible combinations of globular colors that are going to be more challenging for your raid than others that may require special strategies. Number 1. Yellow or green and blue. If blue occurs with either yellow or green, make sure that your raid uses raid cooldowns to survive. Tanks should use personal cooldowns as well, and it is
Anyway,
especially
they're trying to write
important
some
that
of
the
this
mana
shit
void
down.
dies as quickly as possible in this case. Number 2. Red and green. This combination can be tricky. Each raider needs to make sure to stand 4 yards apart from one another,
Yeah.
but must also stand as close to the boss as possible. We found that a semicircle around the back of the boss works well in this situation. Number 3. Red or green and yellow.
Watch it again anyway.
This combination will require a massive amount of raid healing. The main difference between red and yellow and green and yellow is that the raid must stack up for red and yellow and spread for green and yellow. Raid healing is extremely important in both cases. This rotation of different colored globules will repeat throughout the fight until your Saj dies.
Yeah.
The fight is very much dependent on your choice of add to kill and handling the remaining abilities your Saj gains. Some raids that are more range caster heavy might prefer to kill blue over green and yellow, while physical damage heavy raids might leave blue for last. It will depend on your group composition, but find whichever combination of events works well for you. Heroism is best used at 40% in this fight as well. Here's the basic strategy for each ad.
Saying that. Shut
Purple
up.
is always killed dash damage from hit, and this is especially important for physical DPS, as they will be unaffected by the mana draining ability.
I want to look at the combinations again.
Caster and healer should stack near it, so that they are in range to have their mana returned when it is destroyed. Red and black are easy cases in that all the raid needs to do is stack together behind
Where does he show
so that they will have
combinations?
some mana available in order to kill the mana void and heal. When the mana void is around 30% health, every caster and healer should stack near it so that they are in range to have their
Right.
yellow or green and blue. If blue occurs with either yellow or green, make sure that your raid uses raid cooldowns to survive. Tanks should use personal cooldowns as well, and it is especially important that the mana void dies as quickly as possible in this case.
Blow CDs.
Number 2, red and green.
Kill blue.
This combination can be tricky. Each raider needs to make sure to stand 4 yards apart from one another, but must also stand as close to the boss as possible. We found that a semicircle around the back of the boss works well in this situation. Number 3, red or green and yellow.
What was 2?
This combination will
Also have to keep in mind that
It's
we'll
apart from
have
one
weak
another.
auras that will literally be like, kill purple.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But the more I prep for it, the more I know about it. You know, I've never seen this before, ever.
Number 2, red and green.
Red and green.
This combination can be tricky. Each raider needs to make sure to stand 4 yards apart from one another, but must also stand as close to the boss as possible.
Semicircle.
We found that a semicircle around the back of the boss works well in this situation. Number 3, red or green and yellow. This combination will require a massive amount of raid healing. The main difference between red and yellow and green and yellow is that the raid must stack up for red and yellow and spread for green and yellow. Raid healing is extremely important in both cases. This rotation of different colored globules will repeat throughout the fight until your Saj dies. The fight is very much dependent on your choice of add to kill and handling the remaining abilities your Saj
It's
gains.
gonna be tough.
Some raids that are more range caster heavy might prefer to kill blue over green and yellow, while physical damage heavy raids might leave blue for last.
I think it's gonna be a lot.
It will
It's gonna
depend
be a
on your
lot
group
to,
composition,
cram
but
down
find
in
whichever
a couple of
combination of
days.
events works well for you. Heroism is best used at 40% in this fight as well. I will let the rest of the fight play out so that you can see the boss's abilities in action. Your Saj is a dynamic encounter with lots of options for your raid to follow. Once your raid has mastered the combinations, he will die in very short order. Put on your Sunday dresses and have fun.
Cool. No matter what combination, purple dies first, right? every single time. Ah. I'm able to log into PTR, which is good. I'm able to do all my. I'll be able to set it up. Probably do that here in just a few moments, but I'm gonna watch these videos and shit. I'm gonna watch these videos and do this for a minute before I want to dick with it. I was more worried about even getting it set up. So. Did they already kill the black? Oh, they didn't get a black that time? They didn't get a purple? That go?
Right.
Yeah, but didn't you say that you always had to kill the black one first? Does it come out? That was
If it comes.
If it comes first.
If it comes out, period.
Mm.
You get 3 of the 6.
I got you. That was purple, not a black one, right? I know that there's an order to them. I guess I just didn't see it come up on his screen. Yeah, so, and then they'll shoot for the purple one this time first. There goes the red. I got you. That it didn't even come out that go around. That was the dark globula. my resolution. I don't know what it looks like for you guys.
Just wait for that warlock with that hellfire. Alright, now you get to pull up Hagara.
Already getting a headache.
I gotta sprint to that bitch and pickpocket her before some fucking ass pulls that boss.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's part of my quest line.
Hi everyone, this is
Alright, on to
Laylee
the
again,
next one,
bringing
guys.
you another Innominatus 10-man encounter strategy from patch 4.3 PTR. This video will outline the strategy for
Man, that's some
Hagara the
epic
Stormbreaker,
intro music.
the fourth
I feel
boss
like a
of the second
Jackass
Soul
movie
Reaper.
is about to start playing.
This fight is by no means complete and will likely be changed before it hits the live realms. This video footage was taken in a pug, but the abilities and strategies for this fight are reflected in this video. Hagara is found in the Eye of Eternity, where Malygos was fought and killed back in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. To reach Hagara, your raid will fly on the Red Drake found at the bottom of Wyrmrest Temple, up to the top of the temple, watch some in-game dialogue, and then use the portal to the Eye of Eternity. Your raid will kill 4 waves of trash, and fight a mini-boss in order to face Hagara. This is a 2-phase encounter with 2 different Phase 2s. Phase 2 can either be a Frost Phase or a Lightning Phase.
Oh, that's always
The
good to
fight
hear.
will alternate between Phase 1 and Phase 2, with each Phase 2 being one of the 2 options. It appears as though after the initial Phase 2, the following Phase 2s will alternate between Frost and Lightning. Your raid composition should be 1 tank, 2 healers, and 7 DPS. The healing on this fight is very light for the most part, and your raid will do better with more DPS to break raiders out of ice tombs and to kill her faster during burn phases. I will first outline the abilities of Hagara, and will then go over the encounter strategy for this boss. Phase 1. Hagara will cast 3 Ice Lances, which will each target a random raid member and start hitting them for 15,000 frost damage. She does this 1 to 2 times in Phase 1, and the Ice Lances will hit a player once every second for approximately 15 seconds. These missiles can be intercepted by another raid member and will hit them instead. This strategy is outlined later in this guide. Hagara will also use Ice Tomb in Phase 1. 2 random raid members, not including the current tank, will be hit by Ice Tomb each Phase 1. A player in an Ice Tomb will be unable to take any action. The tombs have about 542,000 health and will need to be DPS down. Healers that are in an Ice Tomb must be broken out first. She will also use Shattered Ice periodically throughout Phase 1. This ability will hit a random raid member for 78,000
break me out,
frost
please.
damage,
Break me
and
out,
will slow
please.
their movement speed for 4 seconds. The slow debuff from this ability can and should be dispelled. The final ability Hagara uses in Phase 1 is called Focused Assault. Hagara will rapidly attack the tank, swinging for 50% of her normal weapon damage every 0.5 seconds for 5 seconds. This ability is very similar to the Flayer Trash in the Stone Core 5-man dungeon. The tank can and should avoid this ability by stepping away from her when she uses it.
So she's immobile whenever
Phase 2,
she does that, right?
Frost Phase.
That's what I'm understanding. Just step back.
30 seconds into the fight, Hagara will transition to Phase 2. If she chooses a Frost Phase, she will put a giant water bubble called Frozen Tempest over the center of the platform and become immune to all damage. Along with this ability, she will use Watery Entrenchment.
Oh, this is only
which causes
normal.
any
She's a
raider who's
pushover
standing
on
in the
normal.
Tempest to take
Yeah,
15% of
she's
their
a
max health and
bitch
damage every
as
second.
fuck on her,
and
but
will slow
people are
them
still gonna fuck up the
50%.
lightning phase.
Raiders should make sure to stay on the outer rim of the platform to avoid this. Hagara will spawn 4 binding crystals equally spaced around the outer rim. These crystals must be destroyed
on heroic,
to break her shield.
You got frost
Each
patches
crystal
spawning
has
everywhere.
387,000 health. There are 2 major abilities that must be dodged in this phase.
I pulled this
The
right
first
off the
ability
guide,
is
though,
called
so.
Ice Wave. Hagara will summon 4 lines of ice that spread out from the center to the edge of the platform. The lines will move clockwise around the edge of the platform. Anyone caught in the lines will take 200,000 frost damage and take 50% increased frost damage
They will one-shot you.
for 2.5 seconds. This ability will one-shot any player, so it must be avoided. The second ability is called Icicle. Icicles will
I'm gonna
fall
watch that
frequently
again. I'm
from
gonna watch
above
that part
and deal
again, I'm sorry.
100,000 frost ice that spread out from the center to the edge of the platform. The lines will move clockwise around the edge of the platform. Anyone caught in the lines will take 200,000 frost damage
Roger.
and
Gotcha.
take 50% increased frost damage for 2.5
Just need to make
seconds.
sure I knew what I was looking at.
This ability will one-shot any player,
Clockwise,
so, it
so
must
you
be
move
avoided.
Yeah,
clockwise.
Yeah.
Do not
The
move
second ability is called
counterclockwise, you
Icicle.
will die.
Icicles will fall frequently from above and deal 100,000 frost damage to anyone standing under them. You can see where they will land by the large blue targeting circle.
There, I sent you the heroic guide for 10 minutes.
Breaking all 4
pretty.
binding crystals will cause Hagara to become stunned and take 100% extra
Thinking
damage
about it
for
just
15
gives me fucking
seconds.
nightmare.
Phase 2, Lightning Phase. If Hagara chooses to initiate a lightning phase for Phase 2, she will cast a water shield to protect herself, making her immune to all damage. 4 crystal conductors will spawn around the inner circle of the platform. The conductors must be used in order to break Hagara's shield. During this phase, a bound lightning elemental will spawn and be picked up by the tank. When it dies, it will overload a nearby crystal conductor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this World of Warcraft raiding guide. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the 10-man heroic mode version of Hagara in the Dragon Soul raid. In order to complete this fight, we use 1 tank, 3 healers, and 6 DPS. However, if your DPS isn't really up to par, then you can always consider taking 2 healers and 7 DPS. It'll do just as good. It is also advised that you have a decent understanding of the normal mode version of this encounter before you proceed onto the heroic mode / watch, listen to this guide thingamabob. As always with my video guides, the first section of this video is going to cover the list of abilities that this boss has. If you wish to skip this section and head straight to the tactics, then feel free to click on the annotation that is in the top hand left of your screen. Just like in the normal mode version of this encounter, Ice Lance, Ice Tomb, Shattered Ice and Focused Assault still kind of work in the same way. However, Ice Lance will now place a stacking debuff on the people that get hit by it, and we're going to talk about that later on and how to make sure people don't go, "Oh my god, why did I die? You didn't heal me enough." And the Ice Tomb, Shattered Ice and Focused Assault obviously deal more damage, while the Ice Tomb doesn't because it turns you into a block of ice. But Shattered Ice and Focused Assault obviously deal more damage because it is a heroic mode encounter. Again, just like in the normal mode, she still has the two separate phases, the Ice Phase and the Lightning Phase. And in the Ice Phase, which goes by the name of Frozen Tempest, you still have the crystals that you have to run around the edge and destroy, but obviously these have a lot more health. I believe it was around 2 million health. You can't go to the boss, because if you go in the bubble, you will start losing health every second, and you know, that's just silly. The
So
big
it looks like
spikes
what?
of doom
It should
will
be
still
about
chase you
2
around the edge.
rotations
They'll come out,
around.
4 of those
All
will
the
come
crystals
out.
should be
You need to
down.
run around the edge,
And
you'll still
then
have
back
the
to the phase swap
circle
of 1.
patches on the ground, which are the icicles, and if they hit you, they will knock you back.
How much money
And there's the addition
are we
of
betting
new
on
ability called
a Hellfire
Frostbite,
being casted?
and this is an ability that's placed on a
As you
random
can
player,
move in
which
DPS.
will reduce their movement speed by 10% and an additional 10% every second for 15 seconds. What you want to be doing with this is dispelling it, but we're going to look at that later on, and where you should be dispelling it and when you should be dispelling it.
That ramp damage from dots, though, should be left on one of them little totems.
For her second phase, which is
I mean,
the Lightning
that's what I
Storm,
would do.
you will still have all the lightning everywhere and major damage going out. However,
Shadow
you now
Bolt,
have
Shadow
the
Bolt,
addition
Shadow
of
Bolt.
4 new
One,
storm
one.
crystal thingies you need to connect the lightning to. The lightning elemental will still spawn, so take him to a crystal, kill him off, easy stuff. And you have the addition of a new ability, which is a Storm Pillar. And Hagara will target a random player, and after 3 seconds, a lightning pillar will erupt under them. And this will
Healing's
deal
gonna be
35,000 nature damage
okay,
to
I
anyone
guess.
that's standing
It's gonna
within
be
5
alright.
yards of the player.
Oh, this
I
isn't
think
the
you
hard
can
part yet.
work out what to do there, really. Let's be
Yeah, I
honest.
have no idea what's happening.
This is the hard part to heal. As soon as that fucker
And now
dies.
it's time for some tactical goodness. So as you can see, we've placed some markers around the edge of this, we'll call it an arena. And the yellow marker, which is at the bottom of the screen that you can't see at the minute, there it is, just near the chat box. That is where the lightning elemental will spawn in the lightning phase, and the other 4 markers are for positioning during the lightning phase as well. Now as you can see, the ice lancers have just spawned, and what you want to do is have your range spread out, so that you have each ice lance being shared by a range and I guess a healer, or just another range, possibly 2 range to be ideal really. And when their debuff gets to 5 stacks, you want them to swap, tanking the ice lance. Otherwise they're going to start dying, and the ice lance does a shit ton of damage. Then going into the first phase here, which is the frost phase. Obviously the frost and lightning phases are just randomly generated. We got frost here. When someone gets the frost flake debuff on them, that's the new ability. You want them to run into the bubble and have it dispelled off them. This way it doesn't put a slowing patch of shit on the ground, and you should be able to just do this phase with ease.
Oh boy.
And as you can see, the crystals, they do have a lot of health. It's like 2 million. And just avoid the falling ice death things, I guess we could call them. And obviously you've got the
Get out
shards
of there,
chasing
yeah.
you around.
Okay.
It's kind of ideal to
They
have
got
a
their-
hunter for this because
They're
of the
getting
aspect
rid
that
of
they
this
can bring.
frost flake.
I believe it's a
See
speed
that? Frost
increase
flake on me.
aspect, so it does help quite a lot, especially when people get dispelled in the wrong place like there. It can really screw you over, and having druids in the group helps as
See
well.
him
because
running
you
out
have
with the frost flake.
the movement increase, shout, I've forgotten what it's called, the roar, I think it is. And then once all of the pillars have been killed
Look.
off, you then want to go back onto
Diamond
Hagara.
has it.
Now, we used Time Warp and Bloodlust when we went onto Hagara this time round, because she takes the 100% increased damage from being stunned for 10
Diamond.
seconds.
Looks like Diamond will work on the
and
DVM
we
for
just
the
blow all cooldowns.
frost flake.
Then when the ice lancers spawn again, we do exactly the same thing. Make sure 2 people are on them, and
Sure,
you
the
swap
ice
when you get to
lancers.
around 5 stacks. As you can see, warnings come up from deadly
We're
boss
coming
mobs
up on the hard part
which you
here,
do
right?
use.
I think so.
So
Yeah,
just
we.
make sure you're
I
aware
don't think
of that.
we've.
Then with the
He
ice
just went through an
streams,
ice
you get the ice
phase,
stream
explained all
spooning.
the
No, the ice stream
the stuff
spawn,
through the
they don't
ice
spoon
phase, and
because
now we're
they're
going
ice.
through the tactics on the
Just like
ice
they do in
phase.
the normal mode, and
I'm
obviously they have
assuming
more
he's
health.
going to go through the
Just get
lightning
people to stack up in the middle as
after
fast as
this
possible with
portion.
them, and you just want to cleave them down and just get them dead as fast as possible. If you're running with a 2 healer strat, we did try that. It would have worked for us, but if 2 healers do get ice tuned and you don't break them out fast enough, as you just saw focused assault came after, it's gonna leave a nasty mark and probably lead to a raid wipe because RNG is good. And then going into the lightning phase, we did this differently to how some people would do it. Here down, well, first of all, there's the little circly thing you just saw spawn. That's the new ability that's in this phase. Just run away from that. If you're within 5 yards of it, it's going to deal damage to you. So down the side here with the red markers, all we did was have 2 people do the chaining, and it was a druid and a rogue, and this is because they have their sprinting abilities and movement increase abilities that allow them to run faster between pillars. But obviously from time to time, as you can see here, we had a few bugs with the pillars, and then that should leave at least 6 other people to take care of the other side. There should be no reason for it to not be done instantly, and the damage that is going out is silly. So
Yeah, he
you
went
also
through
want
that
your
so fast.
movement increase ability.
He went through it like super fast. Like he broke down the ice phase really good, but right
Because
there.
it's one simple mechanic.
Yeah, but it was super. I understand that, right? But it went through it so fast that I almost missed the fucking mechanic, right?
So the lightning comes out one of those pillars, and you have to charge the 4 orbs around her, and you have to
Here,
chain the
down.
lightning between
Well,
players
first of all,
to
there's
the
little
orb.
circly thing you just saw spawn. That's the new ability that's in this phase. Just run away from that. If you're within 5 yards of it, it's going to deal damage
Talking about this, right? This ability,
to you.
right?
So
this.
down the side
Oh,
here with the
okay,
red
right.
markers, all we
Right
did
here.
was have 2 people
This little
do the
chain.
chaining, and it was
Yeah.
a druid
Yeah.
and a rogue, and this is because they have their sprinting abilities and movement
And we're
increase
moving them to
abilities
these orbs
that
here
allow
on
them
the
to run faster
inside.
between pillars. But
circle?
obviously, from time to time, as you can see here,
That's what we're
we
trying to
have
chain
a
them
few
to.
bugs with the pillars, and
Yeah.
then that should leave at least.
But as
6,
you're
and as
chaining
you
them,
can
you're
see here,
taking damage.
abilities
This part sucks. That part sucks for the
allow
healers.
them to run faster between pillars.
Oh,
But
it's
obviously
awful.
From time to time, as you can
Okay.
see here, we had a few bugs with the pillars.
And
And
AM
then
doesn't
that
help
should leave
because it's
at
all
least
nature
6
damage.
other people
Yeah.
to take care of the other side. There should be no reason for it to not be done instantly, and the damage that is going out is silly. So you also want.
And
your
sadly, it's only like the third
continuity
worst fight in the
aspect. I
raid.
believe it's a nature resistance aspect. I believe, I can't remember the exact name of it, but do that. It'll help you take less damage, and then the rest of the encounter is an effective rinse and repeat.
Well, I mean, will
So
resist
you get the
pots
ice
help
streams
with that?
again.
Maybe.
Obviously, someone doesn't listen
Yeah.
and they don't stack up in the middle.
Yeah,
so
but you think people are going to
don't
give
be
up their
that
bars?
guy.
I will
And
for
that is
to
pretty
help
much it for this
with
Hagar
damage.
Heroic guide. So as always, thank you for watching,
Uh,
and if you've enjoyed this video, then do feel free to subscribe to the channel for
Okay.
future.
I mean, yeah.
I want to say World of Warcraft, but I don't really play that anymore. This is a druid for my guild, so when Mr. Pandaria comes out, I'll
But
go
Blackhorn
back and do all
and
the tweaks
Spine
stuff
are
like that.
worse
So
than this.
future World of Warcraft Mr. Pandaria beta coverage, as well as
Well-
guides from Dragons off the guild.
Blackhorn's a
Be
pain
there.
because it's buggy.
And I'll just run you through what to do, obviously, like this. And if you want to
Well,
see
and it's
the actual
counterintuitive
kill
to
video
what
for
you
this,
know for raid mechanic.
kill, it's not on my channel, it's on someone else's channel.
Because
I'll
you
put an
see a
annotation
swirly,
on
and
the
usually it's,
screen
oh, avoid the
now.
swirly so you don't
to
take
click on and
damage,
go and
but
visit
you
it.
have to get
Thank you
in
for
the swirly so the ship doesn't take damage, and you take it instead.
Well, I'm gonna have to wait on that one because I'm gonna watch through the old Traxion.
Well, it's patchwork, and you click a button.
People will still find a way to fuck it up.
My
Relax.
action bar didn't transform. I'll be right back.
No worries.
this is Lelia with another Innominatus video guide from the patch 4.3 PTR. This video will outline the strategy to Ultraxian, the 5th boss in the Dragon Soul raid. This fight is by no means complete and will likely change before it hits the live realms. Ultraxian can be found at the top of Wormrest Temple. Your raid must watch some in-game dialogue, fight waves of Twilight Dragon trash, and then Ultraxian flies up to the edge of the temple where your raid will engage you. Ultraxian is a one-phase fight that increases in difficulty as the fight progresses. He has a 6-minute hardened rage mechanic that will be discussed later in this guide.
You can solo heal this
Raid
fight.
must use a special ability effectively and make use of the encounter mechanics to survive this healing and DPS test. Your raid will need 2 tanks, 3 healers, and 5 DPS. This fight requires your tanks to swap with one another at crucial points, and your raid will sustain massive AoE damage throughout the encounter.
Not to lie.
I will first cover the abilities Ultraxian will use, and then outline the strategy for defeating this encounter. Encounter abilities. Ultraxian will use Unstable Monstrosity, which causes him to hit the raid for 300,000 damage split between everyone within 30 yards of the initial target. This ability is used every 6 seconds at the start of the fight. For each minute the fight continues, this ability will be cast 1 second faster with a maximum cast rate of 1 cast per second. This ability will also prevent Ultraxian from parrying attacks. Ultraxian will also cast Twilight Shift at the start of the fight. This will pull all players into the Twilight Realm and grant them Heroic Will. Your raid will have to use this special ability often during this fight. It will pull the caster out of the Twilight Realm for 5 seconds, but the player will be unable to attack, cast, or move during this time. If you are using the standard Blizzard UI, Heroic Will appears as a purple-white button just above your action bars. If you like to use custom action bar add-ons, this macro can be made and used to cast Heroic Will. /click, extra,
/click. Okay, extra. Action. Button. 1.
action, button, 1. You may also wish to keybind this ability, which will have the same effect. The keybind feature is under the action bar functions header near the top of your keybindings window in the WoW menu. I will explain the use of this ability later in this video. It is vital that this ability is readily usable during this fight. Ultraxian will use Fading Light every 15 seconds during the fight. This ability will target the current tank and one other random player. Fading Light will draw those 2 raiders into the Twilight Realm for 5 to 10 seconds. If the player is in the Twilight Realm when this ability expires, they will instantly die. Raiders in the normal realm will be pulled back into the Twilight Realm and given a debuff called Faded into Twilight. It appears that the healers and the tank that does not currently have aggro on Ultraxian cannot be targeted by this ability, but it has not been confirmed. Players with Faded into Twilight will drop all threat against Ultraxian for 10 seconds and will be unable to generate threat for 10 seconds. This will affect your tanking rotation. Ultraxian will cast Hour of Twilight every 45 seconds. This spell has a 5-second cast time with a large purple energy ball graphic. This ability will do 300,000 unresistible shadow damage to anyone in the Twilight Realm. Players that are in the normal realm will be pulled back into the Twilight Realm. If no one takes damage from Hour of Twilight, the shield protecting the aspects will be destroyed and will wipe the raid using another ability called Twilight Eruption. Twilight Eruption will be used 6 minutes into the fight. Ultraxian will explode, dealing lethal damage to all raiders and himself. This is a hardened rage mechanic that your raid must beat in order to kill the boss. Also, if no raid member takes damage from Hour of Twilight, Ultraxian will instantly use this ability and wipe your raid. In order to prevent Twilight Eruption from wiping your raid, each of your DPS will need to do about 31,500 DPS, not including tank DPS. If your tanks are doing around 10,000 DPS each, that number is closer to 27,500. Twilight Burst is used when one or more players is
that's
outside
rough.
of melee range of Ultraxian. This ability will hit everyone in the raid for 75,000 unresistible shadow damage, and increases magical
True.
damage taken by 50% for 6 seconds. This This effect can stack, so it is very
That's why I do
important
not
all
recommend
raiders
3
stay
healing
in
this
melee
fight.
range of the boss. The aspects will aid your raid during this encounter. Each aspect will grant a different
I
buff that
recommend
will help
solo
your raid
heal.
defeat Ultraxian. Alexstrasza will give one healer Gift of Life, which appears 75 seconds into the fight as a red crystal just behind the raid group, which must be clicked by the chosen healer. This ability increases that player's healing done by 100% for the rest of the fight. This ability should be given to a healer with strong dot-based healing, like a Restoration Druid or a Holy Priest. Ysera will give one healer Essence of Dreams, which appears 140 seconds into the fight as a green crystal just behind the raid group, which must be clicked by the chosen healer. This ability will cause all healing spells to be duplicated and heal evenly between all players within 50 yards of the
Oh my
rest of the
god.
This ability should be given to a healer with strong direct healing, such as a Restoration Shaman or a Holy Paladin.
Or me.
Caligos will give one healer Source of Magic, which appears 200 seconds into the fight as a blue crystal just behind the raid group, which must be clicked by the chosen healer. This ability will reduce the mana cost of all spells by 75% and increase spell haste by 100%.
So wait a minute. So these crystals are gonna be popping up, right? And the healer, the chosen healer, has to collect all the crystals, or does he have to choose which crystal he picks? Like, it said it would be good for this type of healer. I know that the green crystal would be good for a holy paladin, but what about the other ones? You know
So, what I did was, when I solo healed it.
what I mean?
If
Was
you
that the end of
solo
the
heal,
story?
If you solo heal, you just grab every single one.
Gotcha.
The best one for Holy Pally is by far it's blue.
The one that duplicates the spell, right? And evenly heals between everyone.
Nah, blue is the best one.
Okay, let me look. What was the other one? He just picked up a green. What was the one he just picked up before that?
Aspects will aid your raid during this encounter. Each aspect will grant a different buff that will help your raid defeat Ultraxian. Alexstrasza will give one healer Gift of Life, which appears 75 seconds into the fight as a red crystal just behind the raid group, which must be clicked by the chosen healer. This ability increases that player's healing done by 100% for the rest of the fight. This ability should be given to a healer with strong dot.
Yeah, you just run out of the raid and grab it.
Druid or a Holy Priest. Ysera will give one healer Essence of Dreams, which appears 140 seconds into the fight as a green crystal just behind the raid group, which must be clicked by the chosen healer. This ability will cause all healing spells to be duplicated and heal evenly between all players within 50 yards for the rest of the fight. This ability should be given to a healer with strong direct healing, such as a Restoration Shaman or a Holy Paladin. Caligos will give one healer Source of Magic, which appears 200 seconds into the fight as a blue crystal just behind the raid group, which must be clicked by the chosen healer. This ability will reduce the mana cost of all spells by 75% and increase spell haste by 100%.
Ooh, 100% haste?
Given to a healer with mana issues.
Everything's
and/or
instant.
long-cast
Everything's
abilities,
instant.
Such as a Discipline Priest, Restoration
So,
Druid,
you
or
can
Restoration Shaman.
take a guess at what you do when you get this.
It is important to note that each
Radiant
healer may only have
spam.
one buff
You
at a
just
time.
radiance.
Three
You do
aspects.
not light a dawn.
The raid chose to give
You
That's
just
crazy.
spam radiance.
That's crazy.
Essence of Dreams to the Restoration Shaman, and Source of Magic to the other Restoration Druid. Your raid may choose to switch
You hit
these
no other
assignments to
button.
suit your healer composition, but the recommendations made
It's
work
super
best in
fucking
any
fun.
situation. Nozdormu will give all players the Time Loop buff 275 seconds into the fight. This buff will bring any player that would have died to 100% health and then remove the Time Loop buff.
And it's a
This
standstill
buff
fight?
is especially important
Yep.
at the end of the fight.
Oh
when
my
the
The whole
god.
group is stacked.
Oh my god.
Finally,
The only
Thrall will
time
give the tanks
anybody
last
will
defender
move
of Azeroth,
is a
which
healer
reduces the cooldown
to
of
go
all
get the
defensive
crystal.
abilities by 50% and increases the duration of them by 100% for the entire fight.
Dude, that's gonna be
Tanks
gross.
will need to make good use of this
If
buff
he's
to survive
beacon on
some
a
of the
tank,
mechanics
it
in this fight.
duplicates the radiance, doesn't it?
Now that the abilities for Ultraxian have been explained, here's
I
the
don't
encounter
know-
strategy
Well, if
shown
you're
in this video.
spamming radiance, you're not getting any
Counter strategy.
healing on the tank.
Your entire
But
raid
if
will
I'm
need to stack
spamming
up
the
in melee
radiance
range
on
in
the
front of
tank,
Ultraxian.
that's considered a
It's gonna hit
direct-
everybody.
Will allow
A
your raid
direct
to maximize AoE
heal,
healing,
yes?
as well as avoid the
No.
Twilight Burst ability. Ultraxian will not
If I
land
cast
on
the
the
radiance
platform, but
on
your
the-
melee
on
will
the
be able
tank?
to DPS him without concern for him parrying their attacks because of Unstable Monstrosity. Ultraxian will begin to use Unstable Monstrosity on the raid.
Yeah.
which will begin the massive
Pure
AoE
AoE
damage your raid
on.
will sustain throughout the fight.
Oh, see, I thought it
The
targeted.
healers will need to use light AoE
I mean,
healing
you have
at
to
the start of
target
the
somebody
fight
with
and
it,
conserve
but
mana until the later minutes of the fight when the raid healing will
it
intensify.
gets no benefit from Beacon.
Every 45 seconds, Ultraxian will use Hour of Twilight, which will do massive
But it's not
damage
going to
to
really
anyone
matter
still in the
because I'm going to
Twilight
be
Realm. Everyone in the
duplicating
raid
my
except
Holy
the current
Radiance,
tank will
healing
need to use Heroic
100%.
Will,
It's going
which
to
will
cost me
prevent them from taking
75%
damage.
less mana at
The best time to use
100%
this ability
haze.
is 2 to 3 seconds into the cast
Twice
time.
the rate.
This will allow your DPS and
It's gonna be
healers to finish their
gross.
cast and still have enough time to hit the Heroic Will button. Your tank that is staying in the Twilight Realm will need to use a major cooldown to survive, such as Survival Instincts, Shield Wall, Guardian of Ancient Kings, or Icebound Fortitude. Your tank must stay in the Twilight Realm for this ability, or the raid will wipe due to Twilight Eruption. Fading Light will occur 2 times between each Hour of Twilight, and each cast will occur 15 seconds apart. Your second tank should taunt the boss off the first tank at this point. Both the tank and random raid member must wait until they have less than 5 seconds left on the debuff. When this happens, both players must use Heroic Will. Note that when the tank with Fading Light returns to the Twilight Realm, they cannot generate any threat for 10 seconds. The tricky part of this encounter requires your tanks to manage the taunt swapping between Fading Light and Hour of Twilight. When a taunt swap occurs, the current tank should hold aggro on Ultraxian until the next taunt swap needs to be made. This will ensure that the tanks alternate taking Hour of Twilight and will have cooldowns available each time because of Last Defender of Azeroth given by Thrall. An example scenario looks like this. Step 1. Tank number 1 tanks Ultraxian and gets Fading Light. Tank number 2 taunts. Tank number 1 uses Heroic Will. Step 2. Tank number 2 tanks Ultraxian and gets Fading Light. Tank number 1 taunts. Tank number 2 uses Heroic Will. Step 3. Tank number 1 tanks Ultraxian. Tank number 2 taunts on Hour of Twilight. Tank number 2 uses Major Cooldown. Tank number 1 uses Heroic Will. Step 4. Tank number 2 tanks Ultraxian and gets Fading Light. Tank number 1 taunts. Tank number 2 uses Heroic Will. Step 5. Tank number 1 tanks Ultraxian and gets Fading Light. Tank number 2 taunts. Tank number 1 uses Heroic Will. Step 6.
Boy, that's going to be...
Tank number 2 tanks Ultraxian.
That's going
Tank number 1 taunts
So
on
this
Hour
is
of
super,
Twilight.
like, tank hit
Tank
mechanic
number 1
heavy.
uses Major Cooldown. Tank number 2 uses Heroic Will.
That's fucking crazy.
These 6 steps will repeat until the boss dies. Your tanks must maintain this rotation in order to make sure that there is a major cooldown available for every Hour of Twilight. Your healers have the task of making use of the buffs provided by the aspects. The first buff is Gift of Life, which should be picked up by your designated healer 75 seconds into the fight. This buff appears as a red crystal that must be clicked to use. The second buff is Essence of Dreams, which appears 140 seconds into the fight as a green crystal. The final healer buff is Source of Magic, which appears 200 seconds into the fight as a blue crystal. These buffs are essential to sustaining enough AoE healing to keep your raid alive. Heroism should be used when Nozdormu cast time loop on your raid, or at 40% health remaining, whichever comes
Oh,
first.
he means
Your
bloodlust.
DPS
Right.
should save potions and other consumables for this stage of the fight.
Yeah, what'd you think heroism
Healers
was?
must also
Matt?
save raid cooldowns for this stage because the AoE healing will begin to strain them.
Not bloodlust.
Hardened Rage will wipe your raid instantly, so Ultraxian must die before the 6-minute mark. Ultraxian is a difficult encounter, which will test the abilities of your tanks, healers, and DPS. Once your raid has mastered the use of Heroic Will, and your AoE healing and boss DPS is sufficient, Ultraxian will fall.
It is not difficult.
I've included
seems like
footage
it'll
of the
be fun.
entire fight so that you can see the abilities and strategies.
Fun if you're a healer.
Put
Yeah.
on your Sunday dresses and have fun.
Alright, well, this playthrough, I'm gonna run and grab me a drink of water.
So are you trying to set up your action bars on PTR?
My action bars are already set up. I just have to set up my keybind.
Just
So
take a
technically, yes.
picture of your action bars.
Alright, what I miss?
Edit this fucker.
Oh, I'm probably about to get. And those crystals only come out one time a fight?
Thanks.
Oh, I'm back.
Oh, it is. There we go. Cool. Alright. We'll bring up the next one. Just doing a little bit of raid prep. War Master Blackhorn.
Sappers, get the sapper.
Oh my god.
Hi everyone, this is Laylee with another Inaminatus video guide. This video will outline the strategy for War Master Blackhorn, the 6th boss in the Dragon Soul raid. War Master Blackhorn can be found on the Skyfire, the Alliance ship seen in the gunship battle in the Icecrown Citadel raid. Your raid will board the ship at the top of Wormrest Temple. To start the encounter, your raid must first talk to Sky Captain Swayze to set the ship into the air, and then talk to him again to start the encounter. War Master Blackhorn is a 2-phase fight where your raid must first fight waves of adds in Phase 1, and then deal with War Master Blackhorn in Phase 2. This fight will require your DPS to split between all of the adds, and handle certain damage mechanics to down this boss. Your raid will need 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, and 5 to 6 DPS. You will need 2 tanks to handle the different adds that spawn, plus the abilities used by Blackhorn. If your DPS is strong, your raid may consider using 3 healers to combat the damage dealt on this fight. Otherwise, your raid might need 6 DPS in order to handle the adds in Phase 1. I will first cover the abilities used in this fight, and then outline the strategy for defeating this encounter. Phase 1. War Master Blackhorn flies above the Skyfire on his dragon mount Goriona. He summons adds to fight your raid. The first phase involves the ship itself as a mechanic of the fight. The Skyfire has a health bar just like it did in Icecrown Citadel. It is your raid's job to keep the ship alive long enough to bring Blackhorn onto the deck of the ship. The Skyfire has 2 harpoon guns that will periodically harpoon 2 Twilight Assault Drakes and bring them close to the ship in order for the DPS to kill them. These harpoons will fire, bring the adds close to the ship, and hold them for a short time. The guns will release the Drakes and then need to reload before harpooning the Drakes again. Twilight Assault Drakes will drop off 3 pairs of adds during the course of Phase 1 and will use Twilight Barrage on the ship. Both Drakes will use Twilight Barrage when they are not harpooned. Likewise, Goriona will fire a large purple fireball called Twilight Onslaught onto the deck of the Skyfire. One of the adds dropped off by the Twilight Drakes is the Twilight Elite Dreadblade.
There's that mechanic again. I'm assuming if you stand in between the mobs swapping the tanks, you'll just get fucking one-shotted, right?
The add will use 2 abilities. The first ability is called Blade Rush, which charges a random player and deals physical damage to any players in his path. The second ability is called Degeneration. This is a debuff that deals damage to enemies and a frozen opponent, and a shadow damage dot, which stacks on the tank. The other add that is dropped off by the Twilight Drakes is the Twilight Elite Slayer. This add must be picked up by the other tank. It also shares the Blade Rush ability with the Twilight Elite Dreadblade. The other ability this add has is Brutal Strike. Like Degeneration, it deals physical damage and has a dot that stacks on the tank. The last add that appears is the Twilight Sapper with 341,000 health. These adds will stealth immediately on landing and will head towards the bridge of the ship. Your raid must kill the Sapper before it reaches the bridge and uses Detonate. Detonate will cause the Sapper to explode, dealing massive fire damage to all nearby players and the Skyfire. Phase 2. Once these 3 waves of adds are killed, War Master Blackhorn will dismount and land on the deck of the ship. Blackhorn will use Devastate on your tanks, which deals damage and reduces the player's armor for 30 seconds. This affects stacks. He will also use Disrupting Roar. This ability deals moderate physical damage to all players and interrupts spellcasting of all nearby players for 8 seconds. Blackhorn will use Shockwave, which deals massive physical damage to players in a wide frontal cone and stuns them for 4 seconds. This ability can target any player in your raid. His last ability is Vengeance, which causes Blackhorn to inflict more damage for each percentage of health he is missing. Vengeance applies to all of Blackhorn's attacks and abilities. Goriona will continue to attack the ship as well. She will use Twilight Flames, which shoots a blast of dark energy at a random player. This blast deals moderate shadow damage to that player and all nearby players. Twilight Flames will also leave a patch of flames on the ground, dealing shadow damage every second for 30 seconds. Now that all of the abilities have been shown, I will outline the strategy for this encounter. Encounter strategy. Your raid must talk to Sky Captain Swayze to start the encounter. There will be some in-game dialogue before the first set of ads arrive. Your ranged DPS can and should DPS the Twilight Drakes as they approach the ship to maximize DPS. Your DPS will need to split evenly between the ads during Phase 1. With a mixed raid group, your raid should assign 2 melee DPS to the Dreadblades and Slayers, 2 ranged DPS to the Twilight Drakes, and 1 to 2 DPS to float between the ads. All DPS need to focus on the sappers when they appear. While DPSing the ads, your raid will also need to deal with the Twilight Barrage and Twilight Onslaught abilities. To handle these abilities, your raid should spread out around the ship. Our raid uses the 4 corners of the boat to split the raid into 2 to 3 person teams. Each team is responsible for standing in the Twilight Barrages when they are near the team, to minimize the damage the ship takes. This positioning also makes it easier to dodge the Blade Rush ability from the 2 melee ads. Blade Rush can also apply the dot effects to players hit by the charge, so raiders should make sure they are not getting hit by this ability. When Goriona uses Twilight Onslaught, your raid will have about 6 seconds to stack up in the purple swirl. A raid cooldown should be used to minimize the damage that this ability does. It is important to note that anyone with less than 80,000 health should avoid standing in Twilight Onslaught or use a personal cooldown to survive, as this ability can be lethal to low health targets. Your raid should quickly spread out again after Twilight Onslaught is hit to avoid Blade Rush. The combination of these 2 abilities can be deadly if Blade Rush is not dodged. When the Harpoon Guns bring in the Twilight Drakes, have your ranged DPS focus these ads. Since they are out of caster range while they use Twilight Barrage, they should be focused when they are near the ship. When the sappers land on the deck, they will put out a small red smoke cloud. This will put the sapper into stealth. To remove them from stealth, have someone with a targeted AoE damage or slow ability target the area between the smoke cloud and the bridge of the ship. This will bring the sapper out of stealth.
Yeah.
Your DPS must focus the sapper and kill it before it reaches the bridge and explodes. Any slows or stuns should be used. It is important to note that Death Grip does work on the sappers and should be used if your raid has a Death Knight. When the first set of melee ads dies, your tank should swap the targets they are tanking. The reason for this is because your tanks will likely still have Degeneration and Brutal Strike stacked on them. By tanking the other ad, their initial dot stacks will drop while the new ones stack up. This will minimize the damage your tanks receive. Once all 3 waves of ads are dead, Blackhorn will land on the ship and start Phase 2. Blackhorn should be tanked in the center of the deck. All melee should spread out behind
He just got
Blackhorn, while the
one-shotted
ranged
by
and
that
healer
guy?
should spread out more than 10 yards away in a circle.
Oh no,
This
watching an
positioning will
ad.
minimize the number of people targeted by Shockwave.
I snoozed it. Good grief. Should have said something.
I wasn't fully paying attention, to be honest. Ad zone.
Is it?
Yep.
Let me see if I remember pet talents.
It says it's still got about 10 seconds, but I'll wait. Alright.
Combination of these two abilities can be deadly if Blade Rush is not dodged. When the harpoon guns bring in the Twilight Drakes, have your ranged DPS focus these ads. Since they are out of caster range while they use Twilight Barrage, they should be focused when they are near the ship. When the sappers land on the deck, they will put out a small red smoke cloud. This will put the sapper into stealth. To remove them from stealth, have someone with a targeted AoE damage or slow ability target the area between the smoke cloud and the bridge of the ship. This will bring the sapper out of stealth. Your DPS must focus the sapper and kill it before it reaches the bridge and explodes. Any slows or stuns should be used. It is important to note that Death Grip does work on the sappers and should be used.
So whenever that Death Hoof guy drops down, he like
When the
smokes
first
the
set of
shot.
melee ads dies, your tank should swap the targets they are tanking. The reason for this is because your tanks will likely still have Degeneration and Brutal Strike stacked on them. By tanking the other ad, their initial dot stacks will drop while the new ones stack up. This will minimize the damage your tanks receive. Once all 3 waves of ads are dead, Blackhorn will land on the ship and start phase 2.
Smoke.
Blackhorn should be tanked in the center of the deck. All melee should spread out behind Blackhorn while the ranged and healers should spread out more than 10 yards away in a circle. This positioning will minimize the number of people targeted by Shockwave and reduce the distance they need to run in order to avoid it. All melee should spread out behind Blackhorn while the ranged and healers should spread out more than 10 yards away. Blackhorn will land on the ship as the damage your tanks receive. Once all 3 waves of ads are dead, Blackhorn will land on the ship and start phase 2.
I guess he was dead.
Blackhorn
Oh,
should
I
be
guess
tanked in
that
the
dude
center of
dropped
the deck.
right down on top of him
All
and
melee
just
should
killed
spread
him.
out behind Blackhorn while the ranged and healers should spread out more than 10 yards away in a circle. This
That's
positioning will
wild.
minimize the number of people targeted by Shockwave and reduce the distance they need to run in order to avoid it. Your ranged DPS should focus Goriona at the start of phase 2. Goriona has about 13 million health and will fly away after being dealt about 10 million damage. Otherwise, Twilight Flames will quickly fill up the deck of the Skyfire and will cause issues with positioning and healing throughout the phase. Your ranged may have to move closer to Goriona in order to DPS her, but they should stay spread out to avoid Shockwave. After Goriona flies away, your ranged DPS should switch to Blackhorn. Your tanks will want to taunt swap after 3 Devastate stacks so that their armor does not get so low that they can be one-shot at high vengeance. Shockwave will periodically target a random raid member. Anyone standing in the frontal cone must move immediately to dodge this. While taking this damage at the start of phase 2 may be survivable, it will become lethal as Blackhorn gains vengeance. Shockwave has a 2-second cast time, so your raiders will need to move quickly. Make sure your ranged DPS and healers stand as close to Blackhorn as they can while staying outside of 10 yards. Blackhorn will use Disrupting Roar throughout this phase. Because of this, it is important that no casters within 10 yards of Blackhorn, otherwise they will be silenced for 8 seconds. The raid damage will increase as the fight goes on, so Disrupting Roar will be hitting for about 100,000 damage near the end of the fight. When Blackhorn reaches 40%, he will be hitting 60% harder with all of his attacks and
Uh-oh.
abilities. Heroism should be used at this point, and your tanks need to use personal cooldowns to survive the incoming damage. Blackhorn is a challenging fight that requires good DPS communication and high movement on the part of your raid. Once your raid sees the mechanics and understands the priority of ads in phase 1, Blackhorn will be defeated. Please click the annotation above to see the fight with all the abilities and strategies outlined in its entirety. Put on your Sunday dresses and have fun.
God damn it, I gotta download all my weak auras.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big one for me is my weak auras and shit.
Where's
This video will outline the strategy for the Spine of Deathwing encounter, the 7th boss in the Dragon Soul raid. The Spine of Deathwing is located on Deathwing's back. You must talk to Sky Captain Swayze after killing Blackhorn in order to parachute from the Skyfire onto the back of Deathwing and start the encounter. This fight has one phase that repeats 3 times. Your raid must use the adds that spawn to expose the underside of the plates on Deathwing's back and then detach them. The goal of this fight is to rip all 3 plates off the spine. Your raid will need 1 to 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, and 5 to 7 DPS. We used 1 tank and 3 healers to handle the healing absorption and add mechanics.
Oh, this
Your
fight
group will
is
need
going
to
to
be
be a
quick at
nightmare.
switching between adds and be careful of their positioning on the spine. First, I will
Yeah,
outline the abilities that
I don't
are
have to
used
tell
during this
Shamina,
fight
but I have
and
to
then
tell
describe the
Blaze.
strategy for defeating this encounter.
You're arcane for this fight.
Encounter abilities. There are 3 different adds that spawn during this fight. The first adds are tentacles called Corruption. These adds spawn from the holes on either side of Deathwing's spine. These adds will not attack players, but they have 2 abilities. The first ability is called Searing Plasma. This ability puts a debuff on random players that absorbs a large amount of healing. Your healers will need to focus heals on these players to remove the Searing Plasma debuff in order to heal them.
Right.
The second ability is called Fiery Grip. This ability will target a random player and channel a stun on them. This ability will also do significant damage every few seconds. Fiery Grip can only be broken by doing significant damage to the Corruption. Doing about 1/3 of the Corruption's health is enough to break Fiery Grip. Whenever a Corruption dies, the hole where it was will also have grasping tendrils that come from it. These tendrils will hold a player who stands in them onto Deathwing's back, and deal a small amount of fire damage every few seconds to them. The second add is called Corrupted Blood. These adds spawn from the holes that Corruptions leave when they die. These adds should be picked up by the tank. Once killed, they put down an indestructible residue that will slowly move towards an open hole, which will spawn a new Corrupted Blood when they reach the hole. This residue can also be absorbed by Hideous Amalgamations. The last add is the Hideous Amalgamation. One of these adds spawns every time a Corruption is killed. These adds must be picked up by one of the tanks. These adds can absorb Corrupted Blood residue, which causes them to deal 10% more damage for every stack of residue. They also have 2 other important abilities. The first ability is Superheated Nucleus, which occurs when the Hideous Amalgamation has absorbed 9 Corrupted Blood residue. This ability does mild AoE raid damage every few seconds. The second ability is called Nuclear Blast. Once the Hideous Amalgamation has died, it will start a Nuclear Blast cast which lasts 5 seconds. The add will not move during this time, but will deal massive damage to anyone near it when the explosion occurs. If the add is placed near a plate when it explodes, the plate will lift up, exposing a burning tendon. Burning tendons hold the plates in place on Deathwing's back. Once the tendon is killed, the plate will be released from the spine. Once the plate is gone, the raid will move up to the next plate and continue this process. Deathwing will do a barrel roll whenever he notices every raider standing to one side of his spine. If players are not firmly attached to the spine when he does this, they will fly off and die. Grasping Tendrils and Fiery Grip are the 2 methods for staying on his back. Hideous Amalgamations will fly up during a barrel roll as well. Now that I have outlined all the abilities, I will explain the encounter strategy used in this
Oh
video.
boy.
Encounter strategy. Your raid will
Yep,
land on
I've
Deathwing's
had that
back
fight.
facing
People
the
just
Corruption.
wipe us on kill
Your raid should
because
kill 3 of
they
them to
were
start
all
off the
stacked
fight.
on one side.
Have your tanks pick
Any
up the
roll.
Hideous Amalgamations and hold them for the time being. Note that when all the Corruptions are dead, a new one will spawn, so there is always one Corruption up at all times. Have 1 to 2 DPS assigned to breaking out anyone with Fiery Grip during the course of this encounter. When the first 3 Corruptions are dead, have your raid stack onto one of the holes on the same side of Deathwing. This will cause a barrel roll to occur. Make sure every raider has Grasping Tendrils on them to make sure they don't fly off Deathwing's spine. When the barrel roll happens, all of the Hideous Amalgamations will fly off the spine. Your raid will then kill off the last Corruption and use the Hideous Amalgamation that spawns to lift the plate. Have your DPS bring the Amalgamation to 20% before killing any Corrupted Bloods. When the Amalgamation has low enough health, if you are using 2 tanks, have the tank with the Corrupted Bloods move towards the Amalgamation. In either case, this is the time to kill the Bloods. Once enough Bloods are killed and absorbed by the Amalgamation, your raid must burn it down. Your tank may want to use personal cooldowns as the Amalgamation will start to hit harder as it gains more stacks of residue. Your raid will want to use a raid cooldown at this point in order to deal with the AoE damage from the superheated nucleus ability. Make sure your tank moves the amalgamation right next to the plate. When the ad starts to cast Nuclear Blast, have every raider move away from the explosion, including the tanks. Once the explosion occurs, the plate will lift up and your DPS can kill the burning tendon. Make sure your DPS know to stay in the middle of the spine during this time. The burning tendon will spawn on one side of the spine, but its hitbox is large and even the melee DPS can hit the tendon from the middle of the spine. Once the tendon is destroyed, the plate will fly off and more corruption tentacles will spawn. The process then repeats with killing corruptions, doing a barrel roll, and killing ads to pry up the plate. If your raid is using 2 tanks and has an abundance of corrupted blood, have your second tank move them to the back of the spine and either tank or kill them there. This will ensure the amalgamation doesn't absorb too many stacks of blood too early, causing unnecessary damage to the raid. If your raid doesn't manage to kill the burning tendon before the plate closes, you must kill the remaining corruption, spawn a new amalgamation, and repeat the process. The damage done to the burning tendon previously will remain, so your raid will just need to finish it off to release the plate. Heroism can be used on the second or third burning tendon depending on how your raid wishes to use their other cooldowns. Once the third plate is detached, your raid will have beaten Spine of Deathwing. Spine of Deathwing is an encounter that requires a lot of coordination on the part of your raid. If your raid can control the ads and burn down tendons quickly, you will successfully beat this encounter. I have included the entire fight to show the abilities and strategies used in this guide. Put on your Sunday dresses and have fun.
Nice. Then they stack. Then the roll. I want to see them do a roll one time. Is that okay? collecting corrupted bloods here. Just waiting on the sun. Waiting on it to collect as many as it can. What, 9? One more. Right there. Just popping up right here. Bingo. Number 9. Blow it up. Level lift the plate. Bingo. Burn, baby, burn. Now we're looking for the stack again. There's 1. 3. Six, 7. Come on, we need 9. 8, 9. Kaboom. That's the explosion of the 3rd plate. Explode the tendon. Nice. Nice. Cool. Now we'll dig with my
Okay,
bars.
I think I got everything.
So for add-ons,
You got one more fight, Ed.
I do.
Madness of Deathwing.
Did I miss it? I just seen the spine on the guides.
Now there's Madness. Ah, that's the one I missed.
All right, I guess we got one more, guys. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she didn't like it.
E-binding.
Anybody a link to that post?
Hang on.
Mouse button 5.
Yeah, not that one. That's 37 minutes long. Here, method. Perfect. It's 25 man, though. Does that matter?
I don't think it matters. Does it? Do the mechanics change?
No.
No, shit hits harder. That's it. That's about it.
And Zenix will send us a...
The concepts are still the same.
Wait, did I link the wrong one? Oh, hang on. Man, there's not many videos of this.
There should be there should be Dream Paragons, Blood Legions, Vodkas.
Yeah, but trying to find an actual guide, not just a video of their kill.
Oh, Vodka does. Just look up L2R Dragon Soul.
L2R.
I got one.
You trying to be sneaky?
Yeah.
You didn't get me. You didn't get nothing.
Hello. Thank you.
You want happy? Daddy?
What?
You want happy?
You want a uppy?
Yes.
Okay, give me just a moment, please.
Hey, Daddy.
Sir.
Guess what?
What?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt?
Yes.
What do you mean chicken butt?
Chicken butt.
Whatever. Why is it doing that?
Uppy.
Sir.
Get out down. Move. Get down. Itchy.
Showing 2 wows?
Yeah. Yeah, you see that? That was wild.
Yeah.
Will. Yeah. Oh. I'm gonna play. No. I don't now.
I can't
What?
seem to grab that specific
can't?
window.
You will do this. Boo. Haha. Boo.
Boy,
Yes.
Thank you for watching
It's
my
funny, 'cause
video
one
strategy
tank
guide.
is
This
literally
guide will
just
cover
gonna
the
be
final encounter in the Dragon
hiding
Soul
bloods.
Raid instance, where we finally get to defeat Deathwing. This encounter is known as Madness of Deathwing.
Dada, you.
This fight seems like it has a lot to learn when you first see all the mechanics, but it's fairly basic after you get an understanding of how to deal with everything.
Yeah, I can see
What
if
it
I
boils
remember
down
which
to
platforms you
is,
start
rinse
on.
and repeat the same thing
You
4
go
times,
green,
then
red,
burn the boss.
Yellow,
Of
blue.
course, it isn't quite that simple. This seems to be a very versatile fight when it comes to raid makeup. We killed Deathwing with 1 tank and 3 healers, but I have
in
seen
your nose.
kills
Lost
with
on
everything
blue.
from 1 tank, 2 healers, to 2 tanks, 3 healers. You may have to experiment to see what works best for
Well,
you. From
I
our
don't really
experience,
know
there
how to
seems to be some
differentiate
strange synergy
color.
with Caligos's buffs,
But, like,
that
you
increases
start on, like,
individual
the
DPS
third
if there are
platform.
fewer players
You start on
DPSing.
on the
Our overall
so
raid DPS remains
one
the
that you
same whether
spawn
we have
on,
7 or 6 players
when we
DPSing,
get down there, when we get
and everyone's
teleported,
individual numbers increased by 8k or so when we drop
that's
to
the
DPS
one you
for our
literally
first
start the
healer.
fight on, because
I
that's
can honestly say I
Ysera's.
have no idea why, but I have heard others tell
Yeah,
me
see,
that
I
they have
remember
encountered
we
the same
started it
strangeness.
on the
Keep an
far
eye out
left
for it.
one.
And keep in mind that going from 2 healers to 3 or 1 tank to 2 might not actually lower your raid DPS. The first thing you should
Because we
notice
save
when
the
you complete
Sarah
Spine of
one
Deathwing
for
is
when
that
you
have
have
now landed
the
at the
least amount
Maelstrom.
of buffs to stay
There are 4
alive.
platforms here at the brink of the Maelstrom, each one guarded over by one of the aspects that have been assisting you
Because
throughout
we went the
Dragon's
far left
You
one,
will begin the
and
fight
then
with
moved
4
over
buffs and
one,
special help from all these
and
dragons.
then skipped to
First,
the
let's go
far
over
right
what you will
one,
face
and then
on each
came back to
platform.
where
Then
you
we will have a
started.
better idea of how the dragons assist the raid. Each platform will have a limb of Deathwing grasping onto it to hold himself up.
Oh, it's a claw.
Our goal is to
from a
kill all
dragon.
4 of his limbs to complete phase 1. You will begin a platform by DPSing the limb attached to it. Deathwing will cast Assault Aspect on your platform to begin the cycle for that platform. Throughout the fight, your raid will take damage from Burning Blood, which deals fire damage every 2 seconds, increasing as the limb's HP decreases. 15 seconds after Deathwing begins to assault your platform, a large lava tentacle called Mutated Corruption will spawn at the end away from the Maelstrom. This ad must be picked up by your tank. The Mutated Corruption will randomly pick a target and crush your raid, dealing 100k physical damage in a cone from the tentacle. To mitigate this damage, have your raid spread out while the tentacle is active. The Mutated Corruption will also cast Impale on the tank. The first Impale comes about 15 seconds after it spawns, and the second Impale comes about 35 seconds later. This ability deals 400k physical damage and applies a debuff that will increase the damage of the next Impale. The timing on the debuff is such that if the tentacle casts another Impale, someone else will have to soak that damage. We have myself pop into bear form, taunt, and blow CDs to take any second Impales. In some cases, your DPS may be high enough to avoid the second Impale entirely. 1 minute after Deathwing assaults your platform, he will cast Elementium Bolt. On the first platform, the bolt is cast early at 45 seconds. This bolt travels extremely quickly and will deal 390k fire damage to all players when it lands. It will continue to tick for 390k fire damage every 5 seconds while it remains alive. The bolt is targetable and killable. In some cases, you'll be able to kill it before it lands and avoid all damage. 1 minute 45 seconds after Deathwing assaults your platform, he will begin to hemorrhage, spawning 6 regenerative bloods. On the first platform, the bloods come early, at 1 minute 30. These bloods must be picked up by your tank. They will gain 10 energy every second and use full energy to regenerate to full health. Your raid must AoE them down quickly before they gain full energy and heal. They will apply Degenerative Bite to the tank, stacking a 10-second debuff that deals 1500 shadow damage every second per application. At 70% and 40% of Deathwing's limb's health, 6 blistering tentacles will spawn out of the limb. These small tentacles apply a stacking debuff called Blistering Heat to everyone in the raid, and deals 2500 fire damage every 2 seconds, increasing damage taken from Blistering Heat by 5% per application. The blistering tentacles cannot be AoE'd and must be single target DPS down. It is rumored that Chain Lightning and any cleave type effects will damage them as well. 2 minutes after assaulting your platform, Deathwing will begin to cast Cataclysm. It is as bad as it sounds and will deal 1.5 million fire damage to all players, wiping your raid. Luckily, he will take a full minute to finish casting Cataclysm, so you should have enough time to finish off his limb tentacle before Cataclysm hits. This means that your raid will have 3 minutes maximum to complete each platform. Killing one of Deathwing's limbs will cause him to experience agonizing pain, interrupting his casting, stunning him, and dealing 20% of his health. The aspect on your platform will begin concentrating to keep his limb stump under control, rendering that dragon inactive in the fight until Phase 2. As Phase 1 progresses, the aspect dragons will become inactive one at a time, depending on what platform your raid chooses to be on. It is important to know what buffs each dragon supplies so that you can make a good decision on what order to choose. The first platform on the left, if you're looking towards the Maelstrom, is guarded by Alexstrasza and is referred to as the red platform. Her buff increases everyone's health by 20%. Her special help is in the form of Cauterize, a channel that will kill all blistering tentacles in 5 seconds, so your raid will not have to switch to them, and also reduces the damage the raid takes from Deathwing's constant AoE, Burning Blood. To the right of Alexstrasza is the platform guarded by Nosdormu, and is referred to as the yellow platform. His buff increases everyone's haste by 20%. His special help is a time zone that he will drop in the middle of any platform your raid is on.
That's why I remember
This
us
bubble will
going to it
dramatically
second.
decrease the speed at which the Elementium Bolt travels. This will enable your raid to kill the bolt before it hits the ground and deals damage. The bubble will also slow the attack speed of any adds inside of it by 50%. To the right of Nosdormu is a platform guarded by Ysera, and is referred to as the green platform. This is the platform that your raid zones in on. Her buff increases healing done by 20%. Her special help
That
grants
one
every
was
player
huge
a special
for-
ability called Dream.
Mostly for
This
the
should pop
meteor.
up an extra action button in the middle of your screen towards the
the
bottom,
bolt.
just like Ultraxian. If you do not see it, you can toggle this ability by using the macro /click space extra action button 1. Dream is a 30-second cooldown that will cause you to take 50% less damage for 4 seconds.
Hang on a second.
The far right platform is guarded by Calicos and is referred to as the blue platform. His buff increases players' damage by 20%. His special ability causes his buff to also grant spell weaving on attack.
Quit it.
Spell weaving deals 20k arcane damage to enemies within 6 yards, excluding the target. To travel from platform to platform, simply walk off the side towards where you'd like to go. Thrall will bounce you over and give you a 60% move speed buff for 10 seconds. Now that you know everything involved in Phase 1, we can talk strategy. I would recommend trying either green, red, yellow, blue, or green, yellow, red, blue for platform order. We were successful
Well,
going
smart
green,
players.
red, yellow, blue.
They're
Which
going
order
to
works
do
best for
damage
you
to the
will depend on your raid
tentacles
strengths
on
and
their way
weaknesses.
to the other
We'll explain the
tentacle
small
that they're
details of
supposed
the
to be at.
strategy in the platform order that we used. Start on the platform you came in on. Talk to Thrall to begin the fight. You can start DPSing the limb before the graphic shows that it has landed, even as melee.
You're gonna hurt yourself.
Switch to the mutated corruption when it spawns.
Please stop.
You should use DPS
stop.
cooldowns on the
No
tentacle.
more.
Be sure to use your Dream CD whenever it is available while the tentacle is alive. Hopefully you will get lucky and mitigate half of a crush. Tanks can use Dream on Impales to mitigate the damage and save personal CDs for the next platforms. Switch to the bolt as soon as it is in range and kill it before it lands. You may or may not finish off the big tentacle before the bolt becomes active. If not, finish it off after the bolt and begin DPSing Deathwing's limb. Have your tank pick up degenerative bloods and pull them into the time zone. AoE the bloods when they become active. Use your Dream CD when blistering tentacles spawn to help out the healers. Continue DPSing the limb until it dies. Jump over 2 platforms to the left to begin on red. Begin DPSing the limb. Switch to the mutated corruption when it spawns. It will spawn quicker here, as your raid spent time traveling. Tanks will need to use personal cooldowns to survive Impales. Kill the bolt as soon as possible. Finish off mutated corruption if it is still alive, and then begin to DPS the limb. Have your tank
Which one
pick up
is stronger?
degenerative bloods and pull them into the time zone. AoE the bloods when they become
The green
active.
one?
Use any short
Stronger?
cooldown personal damage reduction CDs you have when blistering
What kind of
tentacles
dino
spawn.
is this?
Continue DPSing limb until it dies. Jump over 1 platform to the right to begin on yellow. Begin
almost looks
DPSing
like
the
a
limb.
Carnotaurus.
Switch to the mutated corruption when it spawns. Tanks use personal cooldowns to survive
That's a
Impales,
dinosaur.
possibly linking 2 this time as you will no longer have the 20% health buff. Kill the bolt as soon as possible. Finish off the mutated corruption if it is still alive, and begin DPSing the limb. Have your tank pick up degenerative bloods and pull them into the time zone. AoE bloods when they become active. This time, you will have to single target and DPS down the blistering tentacles when they spawn. There are a few ways you can try to control this. You can assign a few DPS to start on the left and a few on the right so they meet up in the middle, or just have everyone start on the same side. It doesn't really matter how you do it, as long as they die. You will want to kill them by the time your raid has reached about 20 stacks of blistering heat, where the damage will become very high. Continue DPSing the limb and kill the next set of blistering tentacles. Then jump over 2 platforms to the right to begin on blue.
No, it's your
Begin
head.
DPSing the limb. Switch to the mutated corruption when it spawns. Tanks use personal cooldowns to survive Impale. Link 2 as you still do not have the 20% health buff. This time when the Elementium bolt is cast, it will rocket onto the platform and drop immediately as you have lost Nosdormu's time zone that was slowing it down. Your raid will take the bolt's impact damage, so have everyone stack up at a predetermined spot and blow raid survival cooldowns.
Look, we got
We used a Disc Priest barrier and Spirit Link Totem to mitigate the damage.
2 minutes left.
Kill the bolt
Finger out your
ASAP.
nose.
We had the raid stack up on the tank of the mutated corruption, as we would be very close to killing it, but not quite. This can cause some problems, as the second impale will be cast right after the bolt hits, so if a tank will be taking the second impale, they will need big cooldowns, possibly an outside cooldown, to help them survive, such as Lay on Hands or GS. After the bolt is dead, and the mutated corruption is dead, begin DPSing the limb. Switch to blistering tentacles and burn them down single target. AoE the degenerative bloods, only after blistering tentacles are dead. You may have timing issues here, where you will have blisterings and degeneratives at the same time. Have your tank OT the adds until blisterings are dead, then begin AoE right after the bloods have gotten full energy and healed. Do not waste time and resources DPSing them at 50 energy, as they will heal before you can kill them. You might want to have your OT call when to start AoE DPS. Continue DPSing the limb and kill the last set of blistering tentacles. This last set may require a raid cooldown, such as the DPS's Tranquility or Divine Hymn, as DPS will be busy in Phase 2, and you will need to save the good healer cooldowns. Kill the 4th limb and you will engage Phase 2. For this phase, jump over one platform to the left, back to the platform you started on. Deathwing's head will fall onto the platform and become attackable. All aspects have rejoined the fight, and you'll have all of their buffs and special help back for this final phase. During Phase 2, there will be 2 sets of adds that you'll need to deal with. The first set will spawn about 10 seconds into Phase 2, and are called Elementium Fragments. They are smaller lava tentacles, and spawn as a set of 3. Their spawn positions are random, so you may get lucky and be able to cleave 2 or all 3. You should switch to the Fragments ASAP. Fragments cast Shrapnel, a 6-second cast that will deal 200k physical damage on impact. This cast is directed at a random player, and that player will have a debuff applied to them that will show the time remaining on the cast. Watch your debuffs while killing the fragments. If you are targeted for shrapnel, use your dream ability when you have about 2 to 3 seconds left on the debuff. This will half the damage and save your bacon. You should be able to kill the fragments by the time the second wave of shrapnel has gone out. We do not run into any players getting targeted twice in a row, so you should not have to worry about having Dream on cooldown when targeted with shrapnel. After the fragments die, you will have a couple seconds to DPS Deathwing. 25 seconds into Phase 2, 2 Elementium Terrors will spawn. These must be picked up by your tank or tanks and DPS down ASAP. Pull them into Nozdormu's time zone to slow their attack speed. Elementium Terrors apply a stacking debuff called Tetanus, dealing 60k physical damage on hit, and 30k physical damage per second. Your tank or tanks will need to blow defensive cooldowns to survive the debuffs. After both terrors are dead, you are now free to lay into Deathwing. Deathwing still deals AoE fire damage every 2 seconds like his limbs, and will become incrementally higher as his health drops. The plateaus are at 15%, 10%, and 5% health, and are very noticeable. 5% will feel like an enrage, and should be treated as such. You'll want to use Bloodlust and 1 raid survival cooldown at 10%, then blow everything you got at 5. You will likely have the next set of fragments spawn right before 5% as well,
The fight ends at
though
like
they will
2%.
not cast shrapnel right away, and the cast lasts 6 seconds, allowing you to ignore them and simply burn Deathwing. I highly recommend just having everyone in the raid use their Dream cooldown at 5%, regardless of fragments. The final 5% of Deathwing will be a race to see who dies first. As long as you have high enough DPS to complete the platforms and a firm plan in place to survive Phase 2, you should have a dead dragon.
I mean, this is long as
Usually
shit.
here I would
Is
append
this-
our
is
first
this
kill
the same
video,
length
but
as
since this
the,
is such a
like,
long
the Lich
fight,
King
I will
fight?
just leave you with a link instead.
Yeah.
5-minute
Thank
fight?
you all very much for your
like
support
a
and kind
15-minute
words,
fight.
and I look forward to bringing you heroic guides very soon.
It's like 2 minutes per platform, and then that last phase.
What? You know.
That's you.
Yeah, that's me. That's you.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah, us.
Yeah. On YouTube.
What's that?
It's me.
No, that's Daddy. You. Is Daddy? Yeah.
You wanna bite?
That's Rotten. That's Rotten.
Yeah, sorta. It's an eagle.
Me too. That's Rotten. Rotten.
Let me help you. You're making a mess. Alright. Now we need to set up our bars. Tell them we need to set up our
Go,
bars.
Mommy.
Where?
Mommy. Me too. Rotten. Me people.
Well, we're gonna click right here, and then we're gonna scroll down to Overworld. Curse word.
Where? Oh, fire.
Mommy wants to know what?
Me too away. We're doing him. Not my turn. I want yours to the down.
Here, bro.
Right there.
How you? Yeah. Why you do that? Mm-mm.
No, did you?
Oh, no more?
Baby,
My noodles?
yeah. Yummy, yummy. You want to know other drinks?
I have no idea.
Oh dear.
Of where?
Watch out. Mom. Mom. My drinks.
Uh-huh.
No. No, I see. My drink. My drink.
Well, then you go get it. And come back. Careful.
But I should
No.
come back.
Yeah, they're gonna be here. Mini map. God dang. Lag. Button. Button. I can't ever find this fucking thing. It's like mini map button. Maybe I'll just scroll right by it.
Hey, we're sixth place for progression on Horde.
Damn.
I got drinks.
Not
We're
bad
ahead of-
for mom and dad.
Yeah,
No, don't. Not
we're ahead of Spartans, Blood of Thunder, Dumpster Fire, and No Fun Police.
What?
Why am I dashing?
Right here.
Oh, by short.
We're ahead of dumpster fire?
Take it in there.
Yeah, they haven't got a list resort yet.
What? Real big? Boy.
Alright, come here.
Boy. Oh, what's that? A pillow. Yeah. That's yours. That's mine. Little running. Daddy, little running.
It's who running where?
That way. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do
Do what?
that way.
What time is it?
Let's turtle.
2:15. Alright.
Take running. My little Will. Where, Mom?
I made your brother noodles. He asked me to make you noodles. I made him noodles.
Okay. Hey.
What?
I'm just holding you.
You need to be careful. You almost spilled this.
Caleb,
What?
stop being mouthy.
No, he's fine. He was curious.
What fun it wants? That one, that one. What fun it wants?
Yeah. Tell me about it.
This one, this one.
Yeah.
That one.
Okay.
That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What fun it wants? This one?
Yep.
The button.
I'm waiting. I gotta press a button. Look.
Yay! That you?
Damn, I'm looking at
Mom, what?
Ballin's
tired.
logs for their kill on Rag. Everybody's above 20k. Their lowest DPS is a Boomkin
Wow.
with 23k.
Yeah. It's still broken.
The wooden.
I'm assuming Healbot's still broken on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in a tennis. I'm gonna go away. I'm gonna go away.
It's like none of my add-ons are even popping up.
Run away. Run away.
Damn, their Ellie Shaman had really bad luck with his fucking stop. Let's see. When you deal damage, you have a chance to gain right at the very goes duplicating the harmful spell. 10 millisecond cooldown.
Cataclysm PTR.
A day. No. Yeah.
Well, that's what we need to get right there.
Yep, I want that. Pin in the nose.
No. Not my nose, please. Yuck. Probably gonna get another ad soon. Boop. Just come in here to sit and mess with me, didn't you? Didn't you? Look,
Ballin uses double blood DK.
that's a troll,
Whoa.
a goblin, an orc, a tauren, Draenei,
Orange.
night
Right
elf, yeah,
Nose.
nose. I guess my add-ons just aren't gonna work. Come on, buddy, please.
Whoa.
Well, I'm trying. Stop, please. Hang on, buddy.
What?
I said hang on, bud.
Okay. 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 Ow. You have it. You have it.
Hmm? Your toes? Yeah? Your big toe, really.
No.
You're gonna just mush it. Yeah, mush, mush, mush.
No.
Yeah, you're being ornery. So I'm just gonna mush your big toe.
No. Hey. Teaching me the toes. Hey.
I did get your toes.
Hi, you did to me, toes.
Hang on, buddy.
2,
Hang on, please.
1,
Hang on, please. Hang on.
that
I'm
one.
having to go through and fucking get all
Up.
these again.
3, 1,
Yeah,
5,
yeah. 3, 1, 5, 7, 8,
8 to be
3,
4,
4.
8,
I don't know if I needed that one. 7,
8,
8.
7.
What else?
That one.
Okay, that one.
Yeah.
And this one. And that one.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one.
That one.
Well, hang on. No, not that one. This
Yes.
one. This is one we need.
That one.
No, not that one.
That one.
I don't think so.
That one.
We need. I don't really think we need loot reserve. We don't care about loot reserve.
To Mama.
If you want to go over there with Mama, you can go over there with Mama. I can let you down. You want
Yeah.
down? Yeah.
That's that sure.
Okay, I think I got it now. Somewhat. I was able to just re-download them, it looks like. Good grief. Probably running through ads. It's about that time anyway. Snooze. I snooze them for 5 minutes. That'll be okay. In 5 minutes you'll get ads. Then I'll take a break. It also gives me time to get up to stretch.
I was asking Dad if he was talking to me, but I don't think he was talking to me.
I'm just talking, baby, like I do.
I just don't want him thinking
Feel like doing some infernals on my warlock?
Is it even worth it at this point?
Does the square root of a hypotenuse equal 90 degrees?
Need a fucking weapon.
More map button. Mini map button.
Ah, I can get incinerative. Oh. What? Why is this dagger better than this dagger? Quite convinced that the best tooltip doesn't know what it's talking about.
What daggers, what spec?
It says Blade of the Witching Hour is better than Incineratus.
For what spec?
Affliction. When the only difference is one has haste, Blade of the Witching Hour has crit, Incineratus has haste.
What are you doing?
He wants to lie down.
Are you tired,
Depends
buddy?
what your haze cap is. Because
Ah!
if you hit the threshold, then yeah, you want mastery and then crit.
Oh, and keep petting your butt? I don't have your drink. You have to go over there and get a drink and then come back.
But
Mom, over here. Stick Mom. Down. Stick Mom. They don't help.
oh, it's because I'm not even inspecting my. Is it not? Is it really not? You motherfuckers.
Yeah.
God damn
The mother. Nice. The mighty mother. The little mother. Yes.
I can't believe I sold a stack of netherweave cloth for 41 gold.
Caleb, are you ready for bed? Yeah. Daddy's almost done. Yeah, I'm only gonna stream for a few hours tonight since I'm gonna be raiding tomorrow, buddy. Leave me alone. You don't need to see.
Lay down.
Whatever, dude. bar 2. Bring this down to 7. 7. 7. 7. However, bar. I know those are fine. 8, 7. 10, 11. Pet. I don't think we really need the pet. Stance bar 7. Bag bar 7. Micro menu 7. Vehicle bar 7. Reputation, we can bring those down. We can actually take that off. XP bar off. Okay. Bigs. Micro menu bar. 1. 6. Okay. So, and talents. P. Actually, turn bar 3 and bar 4 off. Don't really need them. Or mastery. Yeah, that sucks. Shift hold 4. Judgment. 1, 2. Word glory is 8. Actually, word glory is not 8. Word of glory is 5. Holy wrath is 8. What's 6? 6 is divine. Which one gives me the boost? Not that one. Hand of sacrifice is control 3. What is this? Divine protection, divine shield goes to 8-4. My. 701, I guess. Kings. Where is the Sylvan site? Maybe 7 is my shift 5 is that. Shift 4 is going to be my cleanse to target. Seven is concentration, I think. Divine plea. Hodge is 9. My divine favor here. C1, I had a macro. I'll just have to copy. It's gonna be my arcane, torrent, and something next. Wings. Wrath. Or whatever the hell it's called. Yeah, avenging wrath. Right there. I'll put those on a macro. Get this little what's it called? Wrath, arcane wrath. Slash avenging wrath. Smash cast arcane torrent. Nope. And then we're gonna get a new one. We're gonna call this cleanse because we're not generic. We are generic. Slash cast. focus. Percent sign T. Save. Set focus.
All right, I'm hopping off.
Yep.
All right, catch you later, Zenek.
See ya.
See you, man. About T%. I'm sorry. Target. Let's try that. Slash cast cleanse. Save. Cool. Nice. Alright. We'll lock this frame, we'll lock this frame up. Probably leave the focus there for a minute until we can figure out what the hell we want to do with it.
Adrian, don't forget to macro plea with your Avenging Wrath.
Yeah, so it, I actually put my Arcane Torrent on the end of my Wrath. I had my Divine Please set with something else, but I can't remember what the hell it was. I'll have to go back and look.
What I did is I had a WoW open in PTR, and then the regular Cata Classic one open with my Hunter on it, so I can like kind of look at everything.
Yeah, I may do that tomorrow. Just trying to see what I can remember for now. Trying to figure out where the hell the tooltip is so it'll stop giving me the tooltip.
Go to General.
That's better. I don't need any of that. I just need a plater. Alright. Excuse me. Nice. I think I've nearly got it all.
Ew, your button spacing is gross.
Yo, that's the way it was whenever I just set it up. It's usually got a little bit less padding in it. better, but I'm sure you'll find something else to bitch about it. Oh, laggy. Nice. I think I've got nearly everything set up. Nearly. Except for this bugger part. Yeah, okay. Alright. I think on that note, I'm just going to call it an evening, guys. And I will catch you guys tomorrow.